Mirror others' body language to build rapport. The power of mirroring another person's body language is subtle, but highly effective in building an instant connection. This psychological trick taps into the human tendency to feel more comfortable and trusting with those who exhibit similar behaviors, whether consciously or subconsciously. When you mirror someone, you're not just copying their posture or gestures, you are subtly signaling to their brain that you are aligned with them, that you get them on a deeper level. Humans are wired to connect with those who reflect their own emotional states and physical actions. This is why when you sit in the same way as someone else or adopt their gestures, they may feel a sense of familiarity and comfort. It's not a trick that's easily detected by the conscious mind, but on a subconscious level, the person you're mirroring is more likely to feel that you are kindred spirits, someone they can trust. The act of mimicking body language communicates to the brain that you share common ground, and this sense of shared experience fosters rapport quickly. It's crucial to keep the mirroring subtle. Overdoing it or making it too obvious can backfire, making the other person uncomfortable or suspicious. The magic lies in the natural, almost invisible synchronization of gestures, posture, and movement that occurs. When done right, it establishes an almost immediate bond, drawing the other person closer, making them more receptive to you, and creating a powerful, unspoken connection that can open doors in relationships, sales, negotiations, or any social interaction. Use silence to encourage people to speak. Silence may seem like a passive state, but it is one of the most powerful psychological tools you can wield in conversations. When you leave a gap in the dialogue, you are giving others the space to fill that void, which often compels them to speak more openly and reveal their thoughts or feelings. This technique taps into a natural discomfort many people feel when they are met with silence, an uncomfortable pressure that drives them to fill it with words, even when they might have been hesitant to speak. The art of using silence effectively is rooted in the power dynamic of communication. When you pause, you establish an unspoken challenge. It creates a space for the other person to step in, and often they will reveal more than they intended to avoid the tension of quiet. The longer the silence, the more it can push people to open up, especially if they feel the need to keep the conversation going or avoid the discomfort of not knowing what comes next. Psychologically, this plays on the human need for validation and connection. By simply withholding a response, you shift the power balance, giving the other person the subconscious impression that the ball is in their court. This leads to a more genuine exchange, as they fill the silence with information, thoughts, or insights that they might have otherwise kept to themselves. It's an unassuming yet incredibly effective tactic in building rapport, gathering information, and guiding conversations to places they might not have naturally gone. Stand tall to exude confidence. Standing tall isn't just a physical posture, it's a psychological cue that broadcasts your inner strength and self-assurance to everyone around you. When you hold yourself upright, with your shoulders back and your chest open, you not only change the way others perceive you, but you also influence the way you feel about yourself. Your body language speaks louder than words, and standing tall projects an aura of control and confidence, even when you don't feel entirely sure on the inside. This technique taps into a deep primal instinct. Humans are wired to read body language, and we instinctively associate an upright, open posture with power and dominance. When you stand tall, you automatically command respect and attention, and others will often perceive you as more capable and assertive. It's a simple yet effective way to shape the way you're perceived, whether in professional settings, social interactions, or even in high-stakes moments like interviews or negotiations. The impact of standing tall goes beyond appearance. It triggers a cascade of physiological changes in your own body. Research shows that adopting a confident posture can increase testosterone levels and decrease cortisol, the stress hormone, leading you to feel more empowered and in control. Over time, this can become a self-reinforcing cycle. Standing tall makes you feel more confident, and that confidence translates into better interactions, greater success, and a stronger presence in any situation. The physical act of standing tall isn't just a posture, it's a signal to both yourself and the world that you are ready to take on whatever comes your way. Smile often to disarm others. A smile is one of the most universal and powerful psychological tools you have at your disposal. It's simple, yet incredibly effective in breaking down barriers and creating an immediate sense of warmth and trust. When you smile, you send a subconscious signal that you are approachable, friendly, and non-threatening, making others feel at ease in your presence. This seemingly small gesture can have a profound impact on how others perceive you and how they engage with you. The power of a smile goes beyond just creating a positive first impression. It triggers a release of endorphins, not only in you, but in those around you as well. This creates a positive feedback loop, making both you and the person you're interacting with feel more relaxed and open. People are naturally drawn to those who exude warmth and positivity, and a smile is an effortless way to create that environment. Whether in a social setting, a professional encounter, or even in moments of tension, a smile can diffuse conflict and make conversations smoother. Psychologically, a smile signals that you are approachable and have nothing to hide. It reduces anxiety and fosters a sense of safety, which encourages others to let down their guard and share more openly. It's a subtle yet powerful tool in establishing rapport, influencing others, and creating an atmosphere of trust. By smiling often, you naturally invite others to engage with you, setting the stage for deeper connections and more productive interactions. Use names to make people feel valued. There's a subtle yet powerful magic in using someone's name during a conversation. It's a simple act that holds immense psychological weight because it taps into one of the most primal aspects of human connection, identity. Hearing your name spoken by someone else isn't just a way to grab your attention. It's a recognition of who you are. It signals to your brain that you are important, acknowledged, and worthy of attention. For most people, their name is the sweetest sound, and using it makes them feel instantly seen and respected. When you use someone's name in conversation, it fosters a deeper sense of connection. It creates an unspoken bond, communicating that you are not just engaging with them as a generic person, but as an individual. This small act of acknowledgement can trigger feelings of validation, making the person feel special and appreciated. It shows that you're not just focused on the conversation at hand, but on them as a person. Psychologically, using names also builds rapport and trust. People are more likely to feel comfortable around you when they feel recognized and valued. This is particularly true in social, professional, and business settings. In negotiations, sales, or even casual chats, addressing someone by their name can subtly shift the power dynamic in your favor by making the other person feel heard and respected. It shows that you care enough to personalize your interaction, which naturally leads to greater influence, cooperation, and connection. Ultimately, the power of using names lies in its simplicity. It's a quick, easy way to make a lasting, positive impression while building trust and rapport with others. Be unpredictable to keep others engaged. Unpredictability is one of the most powerful psychological tactics to capture and hold attention. In a world full of routine and expectation, breaking the pattern can be incredibly engaging and even thrilling. Humans are naturally wired to seek novelty, and when something unexpected happens, our brains pay attention. This element of surprise sparks curiosity, making people more interested in you, your actions, and what comes next. When you introduce unpredictability into your behavior, you disrupt the monotony that often causes people to tune out. By not following a set pattern or always responding in the same way, you create a sense of excitement and mystery. This tactic can make interactions feel more dynamic and interesting, whether in conversations, presentations, or even in social settings. Offering something unpredictable can re-energize your audience, making them more invested in whatever you're saying or doing. Psychologically, unpredictability triggers the brain's reward system. When people are unsure of what will happen next, they become more engaged in the present moment, eager to see where the interaction will go. This keeps their focus sharp and their interest piqued. It's why suspenseful movies, plot twists, or unexpected compliments make such a lasting impact. They break the norm and make the experience more memorable. However, unpredictability doesn't mean being erratic or chaotic. It's about creating surprises in a way that feels exciting but still controlled. By introducing just the right amount of unpredictability, you can hold attention, spark curiosity, and create a sense of intrigue that keeps people coming back for more. Keep an open body posture to seem approachable. Your body language speaks volumes about your intentions, emotions, and overall approachability. One of the most effective ways to instantly make yourself more inviting and easy to engage with is to adopt an open body posture. This simple shift in how you present yourself can dramatically change how others perceive you, making them feel more comfortable and willing to connect with you. When you stand or sit with an open posture, arms relaxed, shoulders back, and chest facing forward, you convey that you are receptive, non-threatening, and ready to engage. An open body posture is the opposite of defensive body language, such as crossing your arms or turning your body away. These closed gestures signal to others that you may be uninterested, uncomfortable, or even hostile. In contrast, when you position yourself with openness, you subconsciously invite people into your space, signaling that you are willing to listen and interact without judgment. This fosters trust and invites cooperation, whether in personal or professional settings. The impact of an open posture is backed by psychological principles. Humans are naturally drawn to individuals who appear approachable and non-judgmental. The way you present your body can either create emotional distance or foster emotional closeness. People are more likely to share their thoughts, collaborate, and feel comfortable around someone with an open posture because it gives off the impression of being friendly, welcoming, and supportive. By simply making a conscious effort to keep your posture open, you set the stage for more positive, productive interactions. It's a subtle yet powerful way to appear more approachable and increase your influence in any social dynamic. Power poses boost your own confidence. The concept of power poses is rooted in a fascinating psychological principle. Our body language not only influences how others perceive us, but also how we perceive ourselves. By adopting expansive, confident postures, known as power poses, you can dramatically increase your own sense of self-assurance and influence the way you approach high-pressure situations. Power poses are the physical embodiment of strength and dominance, such as standing tall with your chest out, your shoulders back, and your feet planted firmly apart. It's the same stance you might see from someone standing confidently in front of a crowd or a victorious athlete. The science behind power poses suggests that adopting these open, expansive postures can trigger hormonal changes within your body. Studies show that standing in a power pose for just a few minutes increases your levels of testosterone, the hormone associated with dominance and confidence, while reducing cortisol, the hormone linked to stress. This hormonal shift doesn't just make you feel more confident, it physically prepares your body to perform better under pressure, whether in a business meeting, a social gathering, or a moment of personal reflection. The effects of power posing go beyond physical changes. When you adopt these poses, you begin to shift your mindset as well. Standing in a powerful posture sends a message to your brain that you are in control, capable, and ready to take on challenges. Over time, incorporating power poses into your daily routine can transform the way you approach both your personal and professional life, boosting your overall confidence and making you feel more empowered in any situation. Compliment to gain favor. Compliments are one of the most effective psychological tools you can use to build rapport and win favor. When you offer a genuine compliment, you not only make the other person feel good about themselves, but you also tap into their need for validation and acknowledgement. Compliments, when done right, can quickly break down social barriers, making the person feel more connected to you. This connection, in turn, creates an environment of trust and goodwill, increasing the likelihood that they will be open to your ideas, requests, or influence. The power of a compliment lies in its ability to highlight someone's positive traits or achievements, making them feel valued. Whether it's recognizing someone's intelligence, appearance, or effort, a well-timed compliment can have a profound impact on the person's self-esteem. The psychological effect of being praised is that it activates the brain's reward center, releasing dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, which reinforces positive feelings toward the person giving the compliment. This creates an emotional bond that can be leveraged in your favor. However, the key to effective complimenting is authenticity. Empty flattery or overly exaggerated praise can often come across as insincere, making the recipient feel uneasy or even distrustful. Genuine compliments, on the other hand, are deeply appreciated and tend to create lasting rapport. When people feel that you recognize and appreciate their qualities, they are more likely to reciprocate the favor and even go out of their way to support you. Whether in personal relationships or professional interactions, a compliment can be a powerful tool to win favor and strengthen connections. Make others feel smart to build trust. One of the most effective psychological techniques for fostering trust and strengthening relationships is making others feel intelligent and capable. When people feel valued for their knowledge or ideas, it builds their confidence and creates a deep sense of respect towards you. This isn't about flattery, but rather acknowledging their strengths in a way that empowers them. When you make someone feel smart, you're essentially validating their abilities and making them feel that their input matters, which encourages deeper connections and cooperation. The key to this technique is the power of recognition. Humans crave acknowledgement of their thoughts and contributions. By recognizing and praising someone's intelligence, whether it's their insightful comments, problem-solving skills, or ability to grasp complex concepts, you trigger a positive emotional response. This makes them more likely to trust you because they feel respected and understood. When people feel smart, they also feel seen and appreciated, which builds an emotional bond. This technique also works to shift the power dynamic in your favor. By allowing others to share their expertise or opinions first, you subtly give them the opportunity to shine. This positions you as someone who values others' input, creating a reciprocal sense of trust and openness. In turn, they are more likely to open up to you, listen to your ideas, and be more cooperative in return. By making others feel smart, you not only improve their opinion of you, but also strengthen your influence over them. It's a genuine and powerful way to build trust and make people feel valued in both professional and personal interactions. Maintain eye contact to establish authority. Eye contact is one of the most powerful nonverbal cues you can use to communicate authority and control in any interaction. When you make consistent, confident eye contact with someone, you send a clear signal that you are engaged, assertive, and fully in control of the situation. It conveys that you are present and attentive, and that you expect to be respected. Psychologically, humans are hardwired to interpret eye contact as a sign of confidence, trustworthiness, and dominance. When you look someone directly in the eyes, you make them aware that you are not afraid to engage, which naturally leads them to view you as a figure of authority. This technique works because eye contact triggers emotional responses. It can create a sense of trust, making others more likely to believe what you say. However, it's the balance of eye contact that matters. Too little can make you seem timid or unsure, while too much can appear intimidating or confrontational. The key is to maintain steady, controlled eye contact, enough to show that you are confident and assertive without being overbearing. In leadership and professional settings, making and holding eye contact is essential. It not only establishes authority, but also communicates respect for the other person. When you look someone in the eye while speaking, it signals that you believe in your message and expect them to take it seriously. In negotiations, interviews, or difficult conversations, maintaining eye contact can help you command attention and make your presence felt. Ultimately, eye contact is a simple yet profound tool in asserting your influence and establishing authority in any social or professional environment. Act disinterested to draw people in. One of the most intriguing psychological tricks is the art of appearing disinterested or aloof. It may seem counterintuitive, but by acting a bit detached or not fully invested in someone or something, you trigger a powerful desire in others to prove their worth to you. When people sense that you are not overly eager or desperate for their attention, they naturally feel compelled to work harder to capture your interests. This creates a fascinating dynamic where, instead of pushing others away, you draw them in by offering them a challenge. At its core, this technique plays on the principle of scarcity. When something appears to be in limited supply, whether it's your attention, time, or approval, people are wired to want it more. Acting disinterested taps into this human instinct, making others feel like they have to win your attention, approval, or affection. This sense of competition triggers a sense of urgency and makes them more likely to pursue you or your ideas with greater intensity. Psychologically, when you seem unattainable or indifferent, it also sparks curiosity. People begin to wonder why you aren't reacting the way they expect, and that curiosity pushes them to engage more deeply, trying to figure out what makes you tick. This can be especially powerful in social situations, business negotiations, or even dating, where the usual rule is to show interest to build rapport. By flipping the script and acting distant, you create an irresistible pull that can leave others intrigued and eager to win your attention, making them more likely to open up and connect with you on a deeper level. Pause before answering for suspense. The simple act of pausing before responding in a conversation can have a profound psychological impact. Silence, when used strategically, creates a sense of anticipation and tension, prompting the listener to hang on to your every word. This pause may seem subtle, but it plays on the human desire for resolution and answers. When you leave a gap before speaking, people instinctively lean in, waiting for the next part of the conversation, wondering what you will say next. This subtle suspense makes your response feel more significant, heightening their attention and engagement. In the realm of persuasion and influence, this technique works because it creates a psychological hook. Humans are wired to expect something after a pause. This momentary uncertainty draws others in and makes them more receptive to what you say next. The longer the pause, the more your words are likely to resonate, as the listener is already on edge, eager for you to fill the silence. This technique doesn't just hold attention, it also gives your words more weight and importance. Pausing also allows you to gather your thoughts and speak more deliberately. It can give the illusion of calm and confidence, making you appear more thoughtful and in control. In high-stakes situations like negotiations, interviews, or debates, pausing can project authority and self-assurance, signaling that you are not rushed and that you carefully consider your responses. When used correctly, a well-timed pause becomes more than just a break in conversation. It becomes a tool for amplifying your influence, leaving others hanging on your next move. Make others feel important to get their help. Human beings are wired to seek validation and recognition. When you make someone feel important, you tap into this deep psychological need, creating an immediate sense of connection and loyalty. This technique is grounded in the idea that people are more likely to help those who acknowledge their value and make them feel significant. The moment someone feels that their worth is recognized, they become more inclined to assist you, not only because they feel appreciated, but because they want to maintain that positive image of themselves. To make someone feel important, the approach is simple yet effective. Give genuine compliments, recognize their expertise, or express appreciation for their past efforts. When you highlight their strengths, abilities, or contributions, you subtly boost their self-esteem and reinforce their sense of importance. This triggers an emotional response that increases their willingness to help, whether in a professional setting, a social situation, or even in day-to-day interactions. Psychologically, when someone feels valued, they develop a sense of pride and a desire to preserve that feeling. This makes them more likely to go out of their way to offer their support. It's also an incredibly powerful tool in negotiations or problem solving, as people will feel more motivated to collaborate and provide solutions when they are treated with respect and importance. By recognizing someone's value, you not only strengthen your relationship, but also build trust. Making others feel important fosters goodwill, creating an environment where people are eager to contribute and assist. It's a strategic, yet natural way to garner help, cooperation, and even loyalty. Use scarcity to make things seem valuable. The principle of scarcity taps into a deeply ingrained psychological trigger in human nature, the fear of missing out. When something is perceived as scarce or limited in availability, its value automatically increases in the eyes of others. This is why limited time offers or exclusive releases are such powerful sales techniques. People are wired to crave what they think they cannot easily have, and scarcity plays on this impulse. Whether it's a product, an opportunity, or even your time, creating a sense of scarcity makes others perceive it as more valuable, urgent, and desirable. The psychology behind this trick is rooted in our evolutionary survival instincts. In nature, rare resources often signal greater worth, whether it's food, shelter, or mates. The fear of losing out on something rare drives people to act quickly, sometimes irrationally. When you create a sense of limited availability, you are activating this deep-seated desire to secure something before it's gone, even if that thing is not inherently more valuable than anything else. Scarcity is often used in sales, marketing, and negotiation because it pushes people to make faster, sometimes impulsive decisions. Think about how many times you've seen a sign that reads "only 3 left in stock," or heard the phrase "offer ends soon." These phrases instill urgency, causing potential buyers to act quickly rather than thinking through the decision. In social dynamics, scarcity can work similarly. If you make your time or attention seem limited, people will value it more and seek it more actively. Whether you're offering a product, a service, or simply your presence, the perception of scarcity is an effective way to increase its appeal and influence people to act on your terms. Praise others in public to influence them. Public praise is an incredibly powerful psychological tool for influencing behavior and building trust. When you acknowledge someone's strengths or contributions in front of others, you not only boost their self-esteem, but also subtly shape their future actions. People are naturally drawn to validation and recognition, and when it happens in a public setting, the impact is amplified. Public praise taps into a deep social need, the desire for social approval and acknowledgement. By giving someone praise in front of others, you elevate their status, making them feel respected and valued. This not only strengthens your relationship with them, but also increases their motivation to continue performing well or to align more closely with your expectations. The psychological power of public praise lies in its ability to influence behavior. People tend to repeat actions that lead to positive reinforcement, especially when it's witnessed by others. When you praise someone in front of a group, it sends a message that their behavior is desirable, not just to you, but to everyone around. This creates a ripple effect, encouraging them to act in ways that will earn them similar recognition in the future. It also positions you as someone who appreciates and supports others, which builds your influence and rapport. Furthermore, public praise fosters a sense of loyalty and cooperation. When others see that you acknowledge and celebrate contributions openly, they are more likely to work harder, respect your opinions, and align their efforts with your goals. By using this technique, you can subtly shape the behavior of those around you, encouraging them to act in ways that benefit both you and them. Use humor to ease tension. Humor is one of the most powerful psychological tools to break through tension and foster positive connections between people. In stressful or awkward situations, a well-timed joke or lighthearted comment can instantly shift the atmosphere, transforming a potentially uncomfortable moment into something more relaxed and enjoyable. This is because humor has a unique ability to lower defenses, disarm hostility, and make people feel more at ease, which is why it's often used in social interactions, business settings, and even negotiations. The power of humor lies in its ability to trigger the release of endorphins, the brain's feel-good chemicals. These chemicals lower stress, boost mood, and promote bonding. When you use humor, you make the other person feel good, which naturally opens the door to more positive interactions. It signals that you are approachable, confident, and not taking the situation too seriously, which allows others to feel more comfortable around you. Additionally, humor can serve as a bridge in tense or difficult conversations. When emotions are running high, a funny comment or a clever observation can temporarily shift the focus and lighten the mood. It's not about making fun of the situation or belittling others, but rather about providing relief from the stress, creating a shared moment of levity. This makes people feel like they can breathe, lowering their guard and allowing for more productive, open communication. When used skillfully, humor has the ability to diffuse conflict, build rapport, and foster deeper, more authentic connections. It's a tool that not only makes you more likable, but also makes interactions smoother and more enjoyable. Keep a little distance to attract others. In social interactions, proximity can be a powerful tool in influencing how people perceive you. While it might seem counterintuitive, keeping a small amount of physical distance can actually draw others to you. The subtle act of maintaining a comfortable but not overly close distance creates an aura of mystery and intrigue. It strikes the right balance, just enough space to feel safe and respected, but not so far that you seem disinterested or cold. Psychologically, humans are instinctively attracted to what they cannot fully possess. When you stand too close to someone, it can trigger discomfort, making them feel encroached upon. However, when you maintain a slightly distant but engaging presence, you create a sense of curiosity and desire. People are naturally drawn to those who seem somewhat elusive, as it sparks a subconscious desire to close that distance, both physically and emotionally. This effect is often used in dating, networking, or leadership scenarios. When you allow people to come to you, rather than crowding them or demanding their attention, they will begin to feel more invested in building a connection with you. It encourages them to work a little harder to bridge the gap, making the interaction feel more meaningful. Additionally, keeping distance allows you to retain an air of authority and independence, which further enhances your attractiveness in both professional and personal relationships. The art of keeping a little distance doesn't mean being distant or unapproachable. It's about creating just enough space to make others feel intrigued, valued, and motivated to engage with you. This psychological distance ultimately strengthens connections, drawing people in and making them eager to build a deeper relationship with you. Create urgency to prompt action. Urgency is one of the most effective psychological triggers that can push people to take immediate action. By introducing a sense of time pressure, you activate the instinctive fear of missing out, compelling individuals to act quickly or risk losing the opportunity altogether. Whether you're trying to persuade someone to make a decision, close a sale, or get a response, creating urgency accelerates their decision-making process and often leads to faster, less hesitant actions. The reason urgency works so well lies in the way humans are wired to respond to perceived threats or time-sensitive situations. Throughout history, when opportunities were scarce, quick action was necessary for survival. Today, that same instinct is triggered in non-life-threatening situations, but the feeling of urgency still carries the same emotional weight. By framing something as time-limited, you create a pressure that overrides analysis and reflection, pushing people to act before they miss the opportunity. In marketing and sales, urgency is often created through phrases like limited time offer, only a few left in stock, or sale ends soon. These statements don't just inform, they instill an emotional response that urges the buyer to act swiftly, fearing they'll miss out. The same principle applies in personal relationships or negotiations. If you create the perception that an opportunity will vanish soon, the other person is more likely to act in your favor, whether it's agreeing to a plan, making a commitment, or delivering results quickly. Urgency doesn't have to be extreme to be effective. A simple reminder of limited availability or the possibility of losing an opportunity can compel people to act more decisively and ultimately to make quicker choices that align with your goals. Flatter subtly to gain trust. Flattery, when done subtly, is a powerful psychological tool for building trust and influence. The key to effective flattery lies in its subtlety. Overdoing it can feel insincere, but a well-placed, genuine compliment can work wonders in fostering a positive connection. When you offer a thoughtful compliment, especially one that is tailored to a person's unique qualities or accomplishments, it triggers a sense of validation. People crave recognition, and when you acknowledge their strengths or talents, you make them feel valued and appreciated, which opens the door to deeper trust. At its core, flattery taps into the human need for validation. When someone feels like they are being recognized for who they truly are or for something they've worked hard on, it creates a sense of closeness and admiration. Subtle flattery helps break down barriers and makes people more receptive to you. It's not about showering them with exaggerated praise, but about highlighting something specific and meaningful. For example, complimenting someone's work ethic, intelligence, or kindness in a way that aligns with their values can make them feel seen and understood, which builds a natural bond. Psychologically, when you flatter subtly, it also makes the other person more likely to return the favor in the future. They associate your words with positive feelings and are more inclined to trust you, be more open, and engage with you in a more genuine way. This reciprocal trust sets the stage for smoother interactions, whether in professional, social, or even personal relationships. Flattery, when used with sincerity and discretion, helps you gain trust and influence without coming across as manipulative. Speak first to set the tone. Taking the initiative to speak first in any conversation or interaction is a powerful psychological strategy. When you speak first, you automatically take control of the situation and set the tone for how things will unfold. Whether you're entering a meeting, starting a social conversation, or engaging in a negotiation, being the one to speak first establishes you as the leader of the dialogue and helps shape the dynamics of the interaction. Speaking first allows you to influence the mood and direction of the conversation. You can set a positive tone with a warm greeting, an enthusiastic comment, or even an icebreaker to make others feel more at ease. By controlling the initial exchange, you signal confidence and initiative, which often encourages others to follow your lead. This can be especially useful in tense or uncertain situations, where speaking first can help ease any unease and guide the conversation toward a more favorable path. Psychologically, people are more likely to mirror the mood and tone of the person who initiates the conversation. If you speak with calmness and authority, the others in the conversation are more likely to adopt a similar demeanor. This creates a ripple effect that allows you to maintain control and guide the flow of discussion. Additionally, speaking first shows that you are prepared and in command, making others perceive you as confident and capable. Whether in professional settings, social interactions, or delicate situations, speaking first gives you the upper hand, allowing you to set the stage for a more successful and productive exchange. Let others talk to win them over. One of the most powerful yet underutilized psychological tricks in building rapport is giving others the floor to talk. People love to feel heard, and when you allow someone to speak without interrupting, it triggers a sense of validation that naturally draws them closer to you. When others share their thoughts, ideas, or stories, they open up emotionally, which creates an unspoken bond and fosters a sense of trust. By stepping back and becoming a good listener, you shift the dynamic of the conversation in your favor. Psychologically, when people talk about themselves, they experience a surge of self-esteem. They feel important, understood, and valued, emotions that are crucial in establishing a connection. You may not have to say much at all. Simply allowing someone to express their opinions, experiences, or feelings can make them feel more positively towards you. This technique taps into the natural human desire for validation and acknowledgement. By letting someone talk freely, you provide them with the emotional space they crave, and in return, they are more likely to view you as someone who truly understands them. Moreover, when you let others speak, you gain valuable insights into their mindset, preferences, and desires. This information can be used to tailor your interactions to align with their interests or needs. It also positions you as empathetic and approachable, which increases their likelihood of trusting you or even agreeing to your ideas. In the end, allowing others to talk doesn't just build rapport, it creates a genuine emotional connection. It's a simple yet effective technique for winning people over, whether in personal relationships, negotiations, or professional settings. Use anchoring to set expectations. Anchoring is a powerful psychological trick that involves setting an initial reference point, or anchor, to influence how people perceive subsequent information or decisions. This technique is based on the way humans naturally rely on the first piece of information they receive to make judgments, even when that information is arbitrary. When you set an anchor, whether it's a price, a deadline, or a standard, you essentially shape the frame through which all other decisions will be viewed. The reason anchoring is so effective lies in its ability to manipulate perception. For example, if you first present a high price for a product, any subsequent lower price will seem like a bargain, even if it's still higher than what the item is worth. The initial anchor establishes a baseline that heavily influences how the person perceives value. The same concept applies to negotiations, sales, and everyday conversations. By introducing a reference point, you set the tone for what others will expect or be willing to accept. In negotiations, for instance, if you start with an ambitious offer, even if you're willing to settle for less, the final agreement is likely to be more favorable to you than if you had started with a lower offer. The initial anchor adjusts the other person's expectations, making them more likely to consider your terms as reasonable. Similarly, in conversations or situations where decisions are being made, setting a strong first impression or expectation can influence the outcomes and behaviors that follow. Anchoring isn't just about numbers, it works in every aspect of life, from setting emotional tones to creating social or professional standards. By strategically establishing anchors, you shape how others perceive and respond to situations, making it a powerful tool for gaining influence and setting favorable expectations. Stay calm in stress to show control. Remaining calm in stressful situations is one of the most effective ways to assert control, not just over your emotions, but over the perceptions of those around you. When others witness you staying composed under pressure, they unconsciously interpret it as a sign of strength, stability, and confidence. People are naturally drawn to individuals who seem unshaken by chaos because it offers them a sense of reassurance and security. Whether you're in a tense negotiation, a heated debate, or a high-stakes situation, staying calm allows you to maintain the upper hand and guide the situation toward your desired outcome. Psychologically, when you stay calm, you trigger a sense of control that extends beyond yourself. Your composed demeanor serves as a silent signal to others that you are in charge of the situation, and it often causes them to respond with more cooperation or respect. This is because, as humans, we are wired to look to others for cues on how to behave in uncertain circumstances. When you don't react impulsively, others feel safer and more likely to follow your lead. Furthermore, staying calm in stressful moments helps you think more clearly and make better decisions. Anxiety and panic cloud judgment, whereas calmness sharpens focus, enabling you to assess the situation rationally and respond with strategic intent. Over time, people will start to rely on your steadiness in difficult times, deepening your influence and establishing you as a natural leader. Your ability to remain unfazed by pressure not only enhances your credibility, but also fosters trust and respect in any setting. Mirror emotions to connect deeper. Mirroring someone's emotions is a powerful psychological technique that fosters a deep, unspoken connection between individuals. It goes beyond simply reflecting someone's body language or words. It involves subtly matching their emotional tone, energy, or mood. This approach taps into the human desire for empathy and validation, allowing people to feel understood and heard on an emotional level. When you mirror someone's emotions, you signal to their subconscious mind that you are in tune with them, creating a bond of trust and connection. The psychological power of emotional mirroring lies in its ability to bridge the gap between you and the other person. When someone is excited or happy, reflecting that enthusiasm makes them feel validated and reinforces their emotional state. On the other hand, if they're feeling upset or anxious, mirroring their emotions by expressing a similar concern or understanding creates a sense of solidarity, allowing them to feel supported and less alone in their experience. This emotional resonance makes the other person feel comfortable and open, strengthening the connection. Emotional mirroring is also a tool for conflict resolution. By acknowledging and reflecting the emotions of others, you lower their defenses, making them more likely to listen and engage in constructive dialogue. It's an effective way to build rapport, especially in emotionally charged situations, as it shows that you're not just hearing their words, but truly understanding and connecting with their feelings. By mirroring emotions, you demonstrate a level of emotional intelligence that makes others feel truly seen and understood, paving the way for deeper, more meaningful relationships. Avoid direct answers to keep control. One of the most effective psychological strategies for maintaining control in a conversation is to avoid giving direct answers. This technique keeps the other person on their toes and subtly shifts the balance of power in your favor. When you don't answer immediately or plainly, it creates a psychological space that forces the other person to think harder, engage more, and ultimately adapt to your pace. By withholding a direct response, you can steer the conversation in the direction you want, giving you time to process information and craft a more strategic answer. Psychologically, people are wired to seek clarity and closure, so when you don't provide immediate answers, it triggers a feeling of uncertainty and curiosity. This gap in information creates a subtle tension, making the other person more eager to get you to elaborate. The longer the pause, the more the person feels compelled to continue the dialogue, potentially revealing more than they intended to in their effort to get a straight answer. It also allows you to gauge their reactions, adjust your response, and better control the flow of the conversation. This technique is particularly useful in negotiations, interviews, or situations where you need to maintain a position of authority. When you withhold a direct answer, you avoid locking yourself into a specific stance too early, keeping your options open and allowing you to navigate the conversation with greater flexibility. Instead of being reactive, you remain in control of the rhythm and tone, subtly guiding the interaction in your favor. By avoiding direct answers, you remain the one who drives the conversation, keeping others engaged and under your influence. Be vague to maintain mystery. Vagueness is a psychological technique that creates an air of intrigue, making people more interested in you and your intentions. When you deliberately leave details unclear or open-ended, you spark curiosity, and humans are naturally inclined to fill in the gaps with their own imagination. This creates a sense of mystery that can be highly captivating, drawing others in and keeping them engaged. By not revealing everything up front, you hold the power to shape the narrative and leave people wanting more, which can increase their emotional investment in you or the situation. The reason vagueness works so well lies in the concept of information scarcity. People are wired to desire what they can't easily have, and when you withhold certain details, it plays into that natural inclination. Rather than providing clear-cut answers or laying everything out, you leave enough room for interpretation, prompting others to think about what you might be hinting at. This taps into their psychological desire to figure things out, making them more likely to focus on you and try to understand your intentions. Being vague is especially effective in conversations, negotiations, and even in personal interactions. It allows you to maintain control over the flow of information, ensuring that you reveal only what is necessary and often at the most opportune moment. In a world where everyone is overloaded with information, being selective about what you share not only makes you appear more interesting, but it also creates an emotional pull that keeps others engaged, eager to uncover more about you and your thoughts. The key to successful vagueness lies in balance. Too much uncertainty can lead to frustration, but just enough leaves a tantalizing sense of possibility that drives people to seek out the answers on their own. Use foot in the door for gradual influence. The foot in the door technique is a powerful psychological strategy that involves making a small, seemingly innocuous request to set the stage for a larger one. It taps into the human tendency to want to remain consistent with prior actions, making it easier to influence someone's behavior over time. When you ask for something minor and they agree, they are more likely to comply with a larger request later on. This principle is based on the idea of commitment. Once people commit to something small, they subconsciously feel the need to maintain consistency in their actions, making them more likely to say yes to future requests. At its core, the foot in the door technique leverages the principle of reciprocity and consistency. When you make a small request, the person you're engaging with often feels a sense of obligation to follow through, and once they've done so, they are more willing to comply with additional requests. This is particularly effective in sales, negotiations, or any situation where you need to gradually build influence. The beauty of this method lies in its subtlety. By starting with something minor, you gain their trust and make it easier to gain approval for larger demands later. Psychologically, this technique works because of the internal pressure people feel to align their behavior with their previous choices. By starting small, you create a pattern of agreement, leading them to feel more comfortable and less resistant to future requests. Over time, the foot in the door technique can allow you to steer conversations or decisions in your desired direction without triggering resistance or pushback. It's a slow but steady way to build influence and achieve long-term outcomes. Offer choices to control outcomes. Offering choices is a subtle but highly effective psychological tactic that gives others the illusion of control while still guiding them toward your desired outcome. People naturally crave autonomy and dislike being told what to do, so when you present options, you allow them to feel empowered. However, by carefully framing those options, you can steer the decision-making process in a direction that benefits you, while still making the other person feel as though they are in charge. The psychological magic of offering choices lies in the concept of controlled freedom. When you give someone 2 or more options, they are less likely to feel pressured or coerced into a decision. This reduces resistance and makes them more likely to make a decision quickly and willingly. Whether in negotiations, sales, or even personal relationships, giving people choices helps you maintain influence without appearing forceful. The key to this technique is in how you present the choices. While the other person feels as if they have multiple paths to choose from, the reality is that you have carefully selected those options in a way that aligns with your goals. This allows you to maintain the upper hand while still making them feel empowered. For example, in a business negotiation, you might offer 2 possible ways to proceed, both of which serve your interests, but the other party believes they've made the choice on their own. Ultimately, offering choices taps into the deep-seated human need for autonomy and control, all while subtly guiding the other person toward an outcome that aligns with your objectives. It's a masterful way to influence decisions without exerting overt pressure. Slow your speech for authority. The pace at which you speak has a profound impact on how others perceive your authority and confidence. Speaking slowly and deliberately is a psychological technique that instantly makes you seem more composed, thoughtful, and in control of the situation. When you slow down your speech, you give the impression that you are confident in what you're saying, unhurried, and in no rush to fill the silence. This controlled pace exudes authority, making people more likely to listen attentively and take your words seriously. At its core, speaking slowly signals that you are not uncertain or nervous. Fast speech often conveys urgency or anxiety and can even be perceived as a sign of nervousness. By contrast, when you slow down, you show that you are calm and self-assured. This signals to others that you are the one guiding the conversation rather than reacting to it. This subtle shift in pacing allows you to take command of the interaction, and it encourages others to listen more carefully to your words, enhancing the impact of your message. Psychologically, when people hear slow, measured speech, they are more likely to trust the speaker's authority and judgment. It also creates an air of importance around your words. People tend to believe that anything spoken slowly must be valuable and worth paying attention to. This tactic is particularly effective in leadership roles, negotiations, or public speaking, where establishing authority and commanding respect is crucial. By slowing your speech, you not only enhance your influence, but also increase your chances of being heard and respected in any situation. Use door in the face to get concessions. The door in the face technique is a clever psychological strategy that plays on the principle of reciprocity and the human tendency to feel obligated to return favors. The approach involves making a large, often unreasonable request first, one that is expected to be turned down. Once the person rejects it, you follow up with a smaller, more reasonable request that seems much more acceptable in comparison. This tactic works by exploiting the contrast between the initial outrageous request and the final, more modest one. The reason this method is so effective lies in how people respond to the first request. When the initial request is denied, the individual feels compelled to comply with the second, smaller request because it seems fair in relation to the first. Psychologically, it feels like a concession, and humans are wired to return the favor when someone makes a concession towards them. In essence, you get what you originally wanted, but you've positioned it in a way that makes the other person feel like they are giving you a favor. In negotiations, sales, or even everyday interactions, the door-in-the-face technique is a masterstroke in getting what you want. The initial big ask might be so over the top that the person feels uncomfortable denying it, but when they agree to the smaller request, they often feel like they are doing you a favor. This creates a sense of balance in the exchange and can lead to successful outcomes. By strategically applying this technique, you can increase the likelihood of getting concessions, all while maintaining positive relationships and ensuring the other person feels they've made a fair decision. Focus on others to keep them interested. The secret to keeping people engaged and interested in a conversation is deceptively simple. Focus on them, not yourself. People are naturally drawn to those who listen intently and show genuine interest in their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. When you make the conversation about the other person, you create an atmosphere where they feel valued and understood, which leads to deeper connections and a greater likelihood that they will continue to engage with you. This shift in focus from yourself to them can significantly increase their desire to keep talking and keep the interaction going. Psychologically, humans are wired to crave validation and attention. By shifting your attention to the other person, you fulfill that need, making them more comfortable and open with you. When you actively listen and show interest in what someone is saying, you trigger feelings of appreciation and respect, which in turn fosters trust and rapport. People are more likely to feel connected to you when they sense you care about their opinions and experiences rather than using the conversation as an opportunity to talk about your own life or achievements. The act of focusing on others doesn't mean being passive in the conversation, though. It's about asking thoughtful questions, responding empathetically, and showing that you're truly engaged. People can sense when you're genuinely interested, and this creates a positive feedback loop. The more you focus on them, the more they'll enjoy being around you, and the stronger your bond will become. In turn, this makes them more likely to listen to you, trust you, and open up even more, creating a powerful connection that keeps them coming back for more. Speak with certainty for trust. Speaking with certainty is a psychological technique that instantly builds trust and credibility. When you speak confidently, your words carry weight and authority, signaling to others that you know what you're talking about. People naturally gravitate toward those who exude confidence because it suggests competence, reliability, and control. When you express yourself with certainty, you eliminate doubt and hesitation, and others are more likely to believe in your expertise and judgment. The psychology behind speaking with certainty taps into a deep-seated need for security and clarity. In uncertain or high-pressure situations, people seek reassurance and leadership. By speaking with conviction, you provide that reassurance. Your confidence becomes contagious, and others will start to mirror that certainty, making them more likely to follow your lead or accept your ideas. On the flip side, speaking with uncertainty, using words like I think, maybe, or I'm not sure, can create doubt and diminish your perceived authority. This is especially true in professional settings, where confidence is often equated with competence. Moreover, speaking with certainty conveys that you are in control of the situation, which makes others feel safe and trusting. Whether in a meeting, negotiation, or personal conversation, your confidence can shape how others respond to you. It's a psychological shortcut that accelerates rapport building and helps solidify your position in any interaction. When you speak with certainty, you command attention and trust, ensuring that your words are taken seriously and that your influence remains strong. Flinch to make people feel guilty. The flinch is a subtle yet powerful psychological technique that involves a physical reaction to a comment or situation, often to elicit guilt or discomfort in others. This can be as simple as raising your eyebrows, recoiling slightly, or visibly flinching in response to something said or done. The beauty of this technique lies in its ability to make people question their behavior or words without you having to say a thing. When you flinch, you send a clear, nonverbal message that something has impacted you negatively, even if the offense was minor. Psychologically, humans are highly attuned to body language and facial expressions. A flinch, even a small one, can be perceived as an emotional or physical reaction to something that feels wrong or hurtful. When you flinch in response to something someone says or does, it often makes them feel immediately aware of their actions. This involuntary response serves as an emotional mirror, forcing them to reflect on their behavior and, often, to feel guilty for causing discomfort or harm. The key to this technique is subtlety. A dramatic or exaggerated flinch might come off as manipulative or overdone, making others defensive, but a small, almost imperceptible flinch can plant a seed of doubt in their mind, making them reassess their actions without you having to say a word. This technique is incredibly useful in situations where you want to hold someone accountable or make them reconsider their behavior without direct confrontation. By using the flinch, you allow others to correct themselves emotionally, which can lead to smoother interactions and stronger relationships based on mutual respect and awareness. Ask questions to guide conversations. Asking the right questions is one of the most powerful tools you can use to steer conversations in your desired direction. Questions act as subtle navigational tools that allow you to influence the flow of a dialogue without appearing forceful or manipulative. When you ask open-ended questions or those that lead the person towards specific topics, you give them the impression of control while simultaneously shaping the conversation to suit your goals. This technique is based on the psychological principle that people enjoy talking about themselves and their perspectives. So by asking thoughtful, targeted questions, you naturally draw them into areas of discussion that benefit your objectives. The beauty of asking questions lies in their ability to create engagement and encourage others to share more than they may have initially intended. When you ask someone a question that requires them to elaborate, you prompt them to reveal information that can be useful to you. Moreover, by guiding the conversation with your questions, you maintain control of the narrative, subtly steering it toward topics that align with your interests or intentions. Effective questioning can be especially valuable in negotiations, interviews, or situations where you need to extract specific information. By framing questions that lead others down a particular path, you can gain insights, build rapport, and position yourself as a thoughtful and in-control participant in the conversation. Additionally, the act of asking questions makes others feel valued and heard, creating a sense of connection that encourages cooperation and openness. In essence, asking the right questions gives you the power to guide the conversation while maintaining the illusion of a natural, mutual exchange. It's a deceptively simple technique that can dramatically shift the dynamics of any interaction. Use lowball offers to change terms. The lowball technique is a clever psychological strategy designed to secure an initial agreement by presenting an offer that seems too good to resist, only to later change the terms once the person has committed. At its core, the lowball technique relies on the principle of commitment and consistency. Once someone has verbally agreed to a deal, they feel a psychological pressure to stay consistent with their original commitment, even if the terms shift. This creates a unique opportunity to alter the agreement after the initial acceptance without triggering strong resistance. The technique works by capitalizing on the human desire to avoid cognitive dissonance, the discomfort we feel when our actions contradict our beliefs. When someone agrees to an initial offer, their brain perceives it as a commitment. At this point, they feel a subconscious need to stick to that commitment, even if the offer changes. The lowball offer initially appeals to the person's sense of value or fairness, but once they've agreed, you can increase the terms, present additional costs, or introduce new conditions. Since they've already invested in the decision, they are more likely to accept the revised terms rather than back out. In practice, this technique can be incredibly effective in negotiations, sales, or even personal relationships. By presenting a deal that seems too good to pass up, you get a person's buy-in, which increases the likelihood they will accept less favorable terms down the road. Psychologically, the act of getting someone to commit, even to a small initial agreement, creates a powerful momentum that can influence their decisions and behavior long after the first offer is made. Be inconsistent to keep people guessing. Inconsistency, when used strategically, is a psychological tactic that creates uncertainty and intrigue, making others constantly try to decode your intentions. People crave predictability because it gives them a sense of control over their environment and relationships. When you break that predictability, you disrupt their sense of security and keep them on edge. This unpredictability sparks curiosity, compelling them to pay more attention to you and continuously second-guess your next move. The power of inconsistency lies in the psychological tension it creates. Humans are wired to seek patterns, and when you behave in an unpredictable manner, it throws them off balance. They become mentally engaged, trying to figure you out or understand your motives. This, in turn, increases their investment in the interaction or relationship as they want to crack the puzzle you present. Whether it's in how you express emotions, respond to requests, or make decisions, keeping people uncertain about what you'll do next can heighten their focus and attentiveness. In relationships or negotiations, inconsistency can be used to subtly control the dynamic. By not always giving direct answers, changing your responses, or shifting your behavior unexpectedly, you can encourage others to work harder to win your approval or comply with your desires. However, it's important that this tactic is used sparingly and with purpose. Too much inconsistency can lead to confusion and frustration, causing people to disengage or lose trust. Ultimately, being inconsistent keeps people guessing, which allows you to retain the upper hand in many social dynamics, as their need to understand you creates an emotional investment in your behavior. Show selective vulnerability for relatability. Selective vulnerability is a psychological technique that involves revealing just enough of your own weaknesses, struggles, or uncertainties to foster connection, but not so much that you lose your power or control. By carefully choosing moments to open up about your vulnerabilities, you allow others to see you as more human and relatable, which makes them feel more comfortable and willing to connect with you. The key here is moderation. Showing vulnerability can create a sense of camaraderie, but oversharing can diminish your perceived strength or authority. Psychologically, people are naturally drawn to those who are willing to share personal experiences and emotions because it signals trust and authenticity. When you let others see that you too face challenges or doubts, it breaks down barriers and creates an emotional connection. It shows them that you are not perfect and that they don't have to be either. This shared sense of imperfection fosters trust and makes you appear more approachable and genuine. The selective part of this technique is important. You don't want to overexpose yourself or reveal vulnerabilities that could make you seem weak or unreliable. Instead, share just enough to demonstrate your humanity while maintaining your authority and composure. By doing so, you invite empathy and understanding from others, which can make them more willing to collaborate, support your ideas, or offer help. This tactic works particularly well in leadership, negotiations, and personal relationships, as it allows you to build rapport and connection without sacrificing your sense of strength or control. Showing selective vulnerability helps you bridge the gap between being seen as strong and being seen as relatable, two qualities that can make you more influential in any situation. Use reverse psychology to influence others. Reverse psychology is a clever and often unexpected tactic that plays on the human instinct to resist direct commands or pressure. The technique works by suggesting the opposite of what you actually want, triggering the subconscious desire in others to do the opposite of what they're told. It's a psychological strategy based on the concept of reactance, the idea that when people perceive their freedom to choose is being restricted, they instinctively seek to reclaim that freedom by doing the opposite of what's being pushed upon them. By using reverse psychology, you cleverly create a situation where the person feels like they are in control, even though you've subtly guided them toward the desired outcome. For example, if you tell someone, "I don't think you can handle this," it often prompts them to prove you wrong by taking on the challenge. Similarly, in a negotiation, suggesting that something isn't a great deal or isn't worth their time can spark their curiosity and make them more inclined to pursue it. The key to using reverse psychology effectively lies in timing and subtlety. If it's too obvious or overused, it can backfire, making people feel manipulated rather than empowered. But when done correctly, reverse psychology can be an incredibly powerful tool in situations where direct persuasion might fail, such as dealing with stubborn individuals, children, or even in competitive scenarios. It works because it taps into the innate human desire for autonomy, making the person feel like they made the choice themselves, even when you were the one guiding them all along. Ask for help to create obligation. One of the most effective psychological tactics for influencing others is the simple act of asking for help. When you request assistance, you subtly place the other person in a position where they feel a sense of obligation to reciprocate. This is based on the principle of reciprocity. Humans are inherently wired to return favors. When someone does something for you, especially when you ask for help, it creates an unspoken expectation that they will want to help you again in the future, often in more significant ways. This psychological trigger makes asking for help a powerful tool for building deeper connections and gaining influence. The act of asking for help activates an emotional response that goes beyond simply fulfilling a request. It taps into the person's desire to be useful and supportive. When you ask for help, it signals to them that you value their expertise, time, or resources. This positive reinforcement makes the person feel needed, appreciated, and competent, which strengthens the bond between you. At the same time, it subtly places the person in a position where they feel indebted to you, even if they don't consciously recognize it. This technique can be especially powerful in negotiations or in personal relationships. By asking for help, you set the stage for future favors, assistance, or cooperation. Whether you are looking to influence a colleague, deepen a friendship, or encourage someone to support your cause, asking for help creates a psychological dynamic that can be leveraged over time. By subtly invoking this sense of obligation, you naturally build a web of mutual support and reciprocity that strengthens your position in the relationship. Speak authoritatively to seem knowledgeable. Speaking with authority is a psychological tactic that instantly elevates your perceived expertise and credibility. When you speak confidently and assertively, you signal to others that you are in control of the conversation and well-versed in the subject at hand. This creates an immediate impression of knowledge and expertise, even if you're not an expert. People are more likely to trust and follow someone who communicates with certainty and conviction, as it conveys confidence and mastery. The key behind speaking authoritatively lies in how your words are framed. Using a firm tone, avoiding hesitation, and eliminating unnecessary qualifiers like I think or maybe gives the impression that you have a strong command over the topic. This kind of language not only makes you sound more knowledgeable, but also triggers a psychological response in others, confidence in your abilities. When people hear you speak authoritatively, they tend to defer to your judgment and value your opinion more highly. This works because humans tend to follow those who project competence and decisiveness, especially in situations requiring expertise or leadership. Moreover, speaking authoritatively taps into a primal human instinct to follow those who exude power and confidence. It creates a mental shortcut. If you speak with authority, your listeners assume that you must know what you're talking about. This can be particularly useful in professional settings, negotiations, or even social interactions where you want to establish influence and credibility quickly. By mastering the art of speaking authoritatively, you set yourself apart as a leader, gaining trust and respect in the process. Gradually increase requests for influence. The technique of gradually increasing requests, also known as the foot in the door method, is a powerful psychological strategy used to build influence over time. It works by starting with a small, easy-to-accept request, and then, once that request is granted, following it up with progressively larger or more significant demands. The principle behind this technique is based on the idea of consistency and commitment. Once someone agrees to a smaller request, they are psychologically more likely to agree to larger ones, as they feel compelled to act consistently with their previous decisions. This strategy plays on the natural human tendency to want to appear consistent in their actions and decisions. When people commit to something small, they feel an unconscious pressure to maintain that commitment by agreeing to subsequent, slightly larger requests. It's as if they are setting a precedent for their behavior, which makes them more likely to comply with future requests, even if those requests are more demanding or require more effort. The beauty of this technique lies in its subtlety. It's not about making an overwhelming or unreasonable demand right away, which might cause resistance. Instead, it's about building a sense of cooperation and trust with small, manageable steps. Over time, these small agreements can lead to larger commitments or deeper influence. This approach is commonly used in sales, negotiations, and leadership, where gaining the trust and cooperation of others is key. By gradually increasing your requests, you can guide people towards your desired outcome without triggering a strong sense of opposition. It's a strategic, patient way to build influence and achieve your goals while making others feel that they are acting on their own free will. Create competition with scarcity. Scarcity doesn't just make things seem more valuable, it also sparks competition. When something is perceived as scarce or in limited supply, it triggers a sense of urgency and a natural desire to compete for it. Humans are inherently competitive creatures, and the fear of missing out, combined with limited access, drives individuals to act quickly and aggressively. By intentionally creating scarcity, you amplify the perceived value of what you're offering while also stoking the competitive instincts of others, encouraging them to vie for what they think might be slipping away. This psychological principle taps into deep evolutionary instincts. In nature, scarce resources were often the most vital to survival, and securing those resources before others did was key to thriving. This instinct has not faded in the modern world, and it's why the concept of scarcity is so effective in business, marketing, and even social interactions. When you suggest that an opportunity is limited or that demand outweighs supply, you provoke people's desire to be first, to not miss out, and to win the competition for that scarce resource. In practical terms, creating competition through scarcity can be done by limiting time, e.g., this offer ends soon, quantity, e.g., only 10 left, or even access, e.g., exclusive invitation. This approach isn't just about making people act quickly, it's about positioning yourself or your offer as something people can't afford to lose, making them more likely to take decisive action, whether it's a product, a job opportunity, or your attention. Using scarcity to spark competition compels others to move swiftly and decisively, increasing your influence over the situation. Use humor to get people on your side. Humor is one of the most potent tools in human interaction, not only because it entertains, but also because it creates an emotional connection that can be incredibly persuasive. When you use humor effectively, you lower the emotional barriers that people naturally put up in social or professional situations. A well-timed joke or lighthearted comment can make you more relatable, disarm potential tension, and foster a sense of camaraderie. It's a universal language that cuts through awkwardness, builds rapport, and makes people feel at ease around you. The psychological power of humor lies in its ability to trigger positive emotions. Laughter releases endorphins, the brain's feel-good chemicals, which not only elevate mood, but also reduce stress and anxiety. When you make someone laugh, you make them feel good, and that positive emotional response builds a subconscious bond between you. This makes the other person more likely to agree with you, open up to you, or support your ideas because they associate those positive feelings with your presence. It shifts the emotional tone of a conversation, making it more enjoyable and more likely to lead to favorable outcomes. Humor also signals intelligence and social awareness. Being able to make people laugh shows that you understand them and the situation, which boosts your credibility and likability. In high-stakes situations like negotiations or sales, humor can break the ice, ease tensions, and create an environment where people are more willing to cooperate. When you use humor to your advantage, you create a space where others feel comfortable aligning with you, helping you to gain trust and ultimately get them on your side. Compliment strategically for influence. Strategic compliments are one of the most subtle yet powerful tools for influencing others and gaining their favor. When used thoughtfully, compliments can make people feel valued, respected, and appreciated, creating a sense of goodwill and connection. The psychological impact of a well-timed, genuine compliment is profound. It activates the brain's reward center, releasing dopamine, the feel-good hormone. This reinforces positive feelings toward you and fosters trust, making others more likely to be receptive to your ideas, requests, or influence. However, the power of compliments lies not just in their sincerity, but in their strategic delivery. When you compliment someone, you should do so in a way that aligns with their values, desires, or needs. Complimenting someone's intelligence, hard work, or creativity shows that you see their efforts and achievements, making them feel recognized on a deeper level. Compliments that tap into what the person values most, whether it's their appearance, skills, or personality, create a stronger emotional connection and increase the likelihood that they will respond positively to your influence. The key to using compliments for influence is authenticity. Compliments that feel forced or exaggerated can backfire, creating suspicion or distrust. However, when delivered thoughtfully and with genuine appreciation, compliments can enhance your relationship and make the other person more inclined to support you, agree with your proposals, or even go out of their way to help you. Whether in a negotiation, social interaction, or leadership situation. Complementing strategically allows you to build rapport and subtly guide others to align with your objectives. Ignore small offenses to show control. One of the most subtle yet powerful ways to maintain control in an interaction is by choosing to ignore small offenses. Whether it's a slight remark, a minor mistake, or a momentary breach of manners, letting these things slide without reacting can have a profound impact on how you are perceived. Ignoring minor offenses sends the message that you are composed, in control of your emotions, and not easily rattled by trivial disruptions. This approach conveys strength and stability, making others less likely to push your boundaries or test your patience further. Psychologically, when you let small offenses go unaddressed, you demonstrate emotional intelligence and self-restraint. It shows that you're not driven by petty irritations or the need to correct every little thing. This creates an impression of maturity and power because people subconsciously associate the ability to overlook minor annoyances with confidence and inner strength. On the other hand, reacting to every small offense can make you appear volatile or insecure, as if you're unable to handle normal human imperfections. By ignoring minor issues, you also maintain a sense of authority in a conversation. You don't allow yourself to be drawn into unnecessary conflicts or distractions. This allows the conversation or interaction to remain focused on more important matters and positions you as someone who is above petty disputes. Others will respect you more for maintaining your composure, which ultimately gives you more influence in the situation. This technique is especially valuable in high-stakes negotiations, leadership, and conflict resolution. By not reacting to every small provocation, you keep the upper hand, letting your calmness and control speak volumes. Be clear with expectations to shape behavior. Clarity in expectations is one of the most effective ways to influence and guide the behavior of others. When people know exactly what is expected of them, it removes ambiguity and creates a clear path for action. This psychological principle works because humans thrive in environments where they understand what is required and how to succeed. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or even casual interactions, being upfront and explicit about your expectations sets a defined framework within which people can operate, leading to more predictable and desirable outcomes. When you clearly communicate your expectations, you provide the other person with a roadmap for how to behave or what actions to take. This not only helps reduce confusion, but also ensures that there are no misunderstandings or misalignments along the way. By setting clear standards and goals, you influence how others approach a task or situation, as they now have a direct reference point to guide their decisions and actions. People are more likely to meet or exceed your expectations when they understand them fully from the outset, as they feel more confident in their role and more accountable for their actions. The power of clear expectations is particularly evident in leadership and management. Leaders who effectively communicate their expectations are more likely to achieve high levels of performance from their teams. The same principle applies in personal relationships. When you are upfront about what you need or want from others, they are more likely to align their behavior with those needs. In essence, clarity helps you shape the behavior of those around you by providing a structure that makes success more attainable and actions more predictable. Create a sense of community to bond. Creating a sense of community is one of the most effective psychological strategies for building strong, lasting connections. Humans have an innate desire to belong, to be part of something larger than themselves. When you foster a sense of community, you tap into this primal need and create an emotional bond that goes beyond transactional interactions. People are naturally drawn to groups where they feel accepted, understood, and valued. By creating a sense of community, you invite others to share in a collective identity, making them feel like they are part of something important and meaningful. Psychologically, belonging to a community provides individuals with a sense of security and social validation. It makes them feel supported, not only by you, but by a network of like-minded individuals. This shared experience builds trust, cooperation, and loyalty because people are more likely to invest time and energy into relationships where they feel a sense of mutual support and shared purpose. The power of community lies in the collective bond. When people feel like they are part of something larger, they are more likely to cooperate, support one another, and work together toward common goals. In practice, you can create a sense of community by finding shared interests or goals, encouraging collaboration, and celebrating collective achievements. Whether in a professional setting, social group, or personal relationship, the act of bringing people together in a meaningful way strengthens their connection to each other and to you. By creating an environment where people feel they belong, you foster trust, deepen relationships, and build a sense of loyalty that can be incredibly influential in achieving shared success. Let others talk to make them feel heard. One of the simplest yet most powerful psychological techniques for building rapport and influence is giving others the space to talk. People have an innate desire to be understood, and when you allow someone to speak without interruption, you create an environment where they feel validated and valued. This sense of being heard is deeply emotional. It triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which fosters trust and strengthens your connection. When you listen actively and give others the opportunity to express themselves fully, you not only make them feel respected, but you also gain insight into their thoughts, feelings, and desires. By staying silent and letting the other person dominate the conversation, you avoid coming across as pushy or controlling. Instead, you become the person who gets them, creating a sense of emotional intimacy that makes them more likely to open up and trust you. In any interaction, whether professional, social, or personal, people are more likely to respond favorably to those who make them feel heard. When you listen attentively, it signals that you value their perspective and are genuinely interested in what they have to say. This makes them more receptive to your influence and ideas. The simple act of letting someone talk without interruption can be incredibly disarming, as it fosters a sense of equality in the conversation, making the other person more inclined to be cooperative and supportive. Letting others talk also allows you to gather critical information, which you can use to guide the conversation or to align your proposals with their needs. It's a powerful yet often overlooked way to deepen connections and create a lasting impact. Be unpredictable to keep people guessing. Unpredictability is a psychological weapon that keeps people on edge and engaged in your every move. When you introduce an element of surprise or unpredictability into your behavior, you create an aura of intrigue that draws others in. Human beings are naturally wired to seek patterns and anticipate outcomes. When these patterns are disrupted, it triggers a strong psychological response, as people are forced to pay closer attention and adapt to the unexpected. This makes them more invested in your actions, conversations, or decisions. The power of unpredictability lies in the discomfort it creates. When you keep people guessing, they are less likely to predict your next move, which heightens their focus on you. This curiosity makes them more receptive to your influence and more likely to follow your lead, whether in a social setting, a negotiation, or a leadership role. People tend to be drawn to those who don't follow predictable paths because there is a sense of mystery and excitement around them. Unpredictability also allows you to maintain control in a conversation or situation by not conforming to the expected pattern of responses or behavior. You force others to stay alert and adapt to you. This not only keeps them on their toes, but also positions you as someone who can't be easily manipulated or anticipated, which gives you an edge in any interaction. However, the key is to balance unpredictability with consistency. While being erratic can alienate others, strategically timed unpredictability, such as sudden bursts of creativity, unexpected compliments, or surprising responses, keeps people engaged and intrigued. This makes you a more captivating and influential figure, one who maintains control simply by keeping others guessing. Control the environment to assert dominance. Controlling the environment is a subtle yet incredibly effective way to assert dominance in any situation. The space around you communicates as much as your words and body language do, and by manipulating this space, you can influence how others perceive you and react to you. Whether it's in a meeting room, a social gathering, or even during a negotiation, how you set up or take command of the environment can dramatically shift the power dynamics in your favor. Humans are highly sensitive to their surroundings, and the way a space is arranged can affect people's emotions, behaviors, and interactions. For instance, in a meeting, choosing a seat at the head of the table or placing yourself in the center of a group sends a subconscious signal that you are in control. The arrangement of furniture, the lighting, and even the tone of the room can create an atmosphere that supports your influence. If you want to project power, you might opt for a space that's open, uncluttered, and brightly lit, which gives you visibility and an aura of command. Conversely, dimmer or smaller spaces can make others feel confined or less dominant, subtly putting them on the back foot. By controlling the environment, you also control the emotional and social cues that others pick up on. When people enter a space that feels ordered and purposeful, they tend to act with more deference and respect to the person who has shaped that environment. You are not just physically asserting dominance, you are also subtly guiding the psychological atmosphere to encourage compliance, cooperation, or even admiration. In short, when you control the environment, you create an invisible influence that enhances your power and authority without ever needing to say a word. Exaggerate emotions for sincerity. Exaggerating your emotions in the right moments is a powerful psychological technique that can make you appear more genuine, empathetic, and connected with others. People are often more influenced by emotional cues than by logical reasoning, and when you amplify your feelings, whether through excitement, sympathy, or even disappointment, you tap into the emotional core of your audience. This act of emotional exaggeration makes your reaction seem more authentic because it conveys passion and intensity, making your words and actions feel more real to others. The psychological power of exaggerating emotions lies in the way it signals sincerity. When you express yourself with heightened emotion, people perceive you as deeply invested in what you're saying. In situations where others might be skeptical or unsure, amplifying your feelings can push through those doubts and make you appear more earnest. Whether it's showing enthusiastic joy over a small victory or expressing deep concern over an issue, exaggeration helps communicate that you truly care, which builds a stronger emotional connection with others. By exaggerating emotions, you also make your intentions clear. If someone sees you reacting intensely to something important, they will understand that it matters to you. This emotional transparency fosters trust because people are more likely to believe you're being honest when they see that you're visibly affected. In personal relationships, business settings, or even public speaking, this technique allows you to create an impact by showing others that your emotions are real, making them more inclined to believe in you and support your cause. By amplifying your emotions, you amplify your influence, making interactions feel more powerful and meaningful. Use body language to dominate. Body language is one of the most influential psychological tools in any interaction, often speaking louder than words. By mastering the art of using powerful body language, you can take control of a situation, command attention, and establish dominance in both subtle and overt ways. The way you position yourself, your posture, and even your facial expressions send unspoken signals to others about your confidence, authority, and level of control in a given scenario. One of the most important aspects of dominant body language is posture. Standing tall with your shoulders back and your head held high projects confidence and power. People instinctively associate open, expansive postures with strength, while closed or slouched positions convey vulnerability or uncertainty. When you adopt an upright posture and take up more physical space, you make an impression of authority that others are more likely to respect. Similarly, gestures such as standing with your arms uncrossed or placing your hands confidently on the table create an air of self-assurance and control. Eye contact is another powerful tool in establishing dominance. Maintaining steady eye contact without overdoing it signals that you are comfortable with who you are and that you are fully engaged and present in the moment. This can subtly put others on edge, making them more likely to defer to your lead. Additionally, controlled facial expressions such as a calm, assured smile or a neutral expression in high-pressure situations can help you exude composure, further solidifying your dominance. By using body language intentionally, you can control how others perceive you and establish yourself as a leader in any setting. Whether in negotiations, social settings, or professional environments, the way you carry yourself can greatly influence the power dynamics and the way others respond to you. Compliment to boost others' egos. Compliments are powerful psychological tools that can be used to build rapport, influence, and strengthen relationships. When you compliment someone, you engage with their sense of self-worth, triggering positive emotions that make them feel recognized and valued. By boosting others' egos, you create a sense of validation, which not only improves their mood, but also increases their perception of you. People naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel good about themselves, and compliments are an effortless way to achieve this. Psychologically, compliments fulfill a basic human need for affirmation and recognition. When you highlight someone's achievements, appearance, or personality in a genuine way, it taps into their desire to be seen and appreciated. Compliments make people feel noticed, which, in turn, creates a positive emotional connection between you and them. When others feel good about themselves in your presence, they are more likely to be open to your ideas, trust you, and even go out of their way to help you in return. However, the key to using compliments effectively is sincerity. Empty or exaggerated compliments can be seen as manipulative and often backfire, making the recipient feel uncomfortable or skeptical. When you give a compliment that is thoughtful and specific, it feels more genuine, making the other person's ego feel truly boosted. This fosters a deeper connection and builds goodwill, creating a favorable environment for collaboration, persuasion, and influence. In professional settings, relationships, or even casual interactions, complimenting others in a meaningful way can elevate your status and influence. By making others feel good about themselves, you pave the way for stronger, more cooperative interactions that ultimately benefit you. Keep calm to avoid showing weakness. Staying calm in stressful or high-pressure situations is one of the most powerful ways to assert control and avoid appearing vulnerable. When you maintain composure, even when chaos is unfolding around you, you communicate to others that you are in charge, confident, and not easily rattled. This psychological tactic works because humans are naturally drawn to those who remain unshaken in times of uncertainty or conflict. Calmness signals inner strength and resilience, traits that inspire respect and trust, while others may be more likely to second-guess or lose control when emotions run high. The key to this technique is understanding that emotions, especially fear or anger, can cloud judgment and decision-making. When you stay calm, you not only avoid displaying weakness, but also position yourself as a rational, clear-headed leader who can make sound decisions under pressure. In professional settings, this composure allows you to navigate difficult situations with authority, showing that you can handle even the most challenging circumstances without faltering. People look to those who maintain their cool, often relying on them for guidance and reassurance in times of distress. Psychologically, remaining calm also prevents others from seeing cracks in your confidence. If you panic or show frustration, you risk appearing weak or indecisive, which can diminish your influence over others. In contrast, when you stay collected, it's easier to direct conversations, diffuse tension, and influence outcomes. By exuding calmness, you reinforce your dominance and convey that you are the stable force in any situation, making others more likely to follow your lead and trust your decisions. Make others feel included to bond. One of the most effective ways to build strong, lasting connections is by making others feel included. The human need for belonging is deeply ingrained, and when people feel like they are part of a group or shared experience, it triggers positive emotions and strengthens relationships. Inclusion fosters a sense of value and significance, creating an emotional bond that encourages trust, cooperation, and loyalty. Whether in social settings, at work, or within personal relationships, the act of bringing someone into the fold can have a profound effect on how they view you and how they connect with the group as a whole. Psychologically, when you make someone feel included, it taps into their desire to be accepted and valued. Feeling left out can trigger feelings of isolation and insecurity, while inclusion provides a sense of social safety and warmth. When you invite someone into a conversation, offer them opportunities to contribute, or make an effort to recognize their presence, you signal to them that they matter, that their opinions are respected, and that they are essential to the group dynamic. This sense of belonging creates a deep emotional bond and builds trust, which in turn makes the individual more likely to cooperate, support you, and align with your goals. In practice, inclusion can take many forms. It can be as simple as acknowledging someone's presence, inviting them to participate, or showing genuine interest in their thoughts and ideas. By making others feel like they belong, you create an environment where people are more open, connected, and loyal. The act of inclusion not only strengthens your relationships, but also gives you greater influence over the people you engage with, creating deeper connections and a more cohesive, collaborative atmosphere. Use emotional appeals for influence. Emotional appeals are one of the most powerful psychological tools for influencing others, as they tap directly into the core of human decision-making, feelings. People often make decisions based on emotion rather than pure logic, and when you can connect with someone emotionally, you open the door to influence. By appealing to emotions such as fear, joy, empathy, or excitement, you can guide someone's thoughts and actions in a way that feels natural and compelling, often without them realizing it. The reason emotional appeals are so effective is that emotions drive behavior. When someone feels strongly about a situation, they are more likely to take action. For example, appealing to someone's sense of empathy can make them more likely to support your cause or agree with your proposal. Tapping into fear can prompt them to act quickly to avoid a negative outcome. Conversely, evoking excitement or hope can inspire them to pursue a goal with enthusiasm and commitment. Emotional appeals can be used in a variety of settings, whether in sales, negotiations, or personal relationships. In a sales context, for instance, connecting your product to an emotional benefit, like how it can make someone feel happy, secure, or empowered, can motivate them to buy. Similarly, in leadership or negotiations, appealing to emotions such as trust, loyalty, or even a shared vision can rally people to your cause or get them to align with your objectives. However, the key to using emotional appeals effectively lies in authenticity. If your appeal feels manipulative or disingenuous, it will backfire, leading to distrust or resistance. When used ethically, emotional appeals can foster genuine connections, inspire action, and sway decisions in your favor, making them an invaluable tool in persuasion and influence. Appear busy to increase your value. The psychological power of appearing busy is rooted in the concept of perceived value. When you give the impression that you are constantly in demand, that your time is precious, and that you have a full plate, people naturally perceive you as more important, successful, and influential. This tactic plays into the idea of scarcity. People want what they can't have, and when others believe you are busy and in demand, they are more likely to want your attention or input, which boosts your perceived value. Psychologically, humans are drawn to things that appear rare or difficult to attain. If you always seem available, you risk being seen as someone who doesn't have much going on, which can make you appear less significant. By intentionally appearing busy, even if you're not completely overwhelmed, you create a sense of urgency around your time. Others will respect your time more, value your contributions, and seek you out, creating a dynamic where your presence feels more exclusive. This tactic can be employed in professional settings where projecting an image of busyness can help establish your credibility and authority. If you're always available to answer questions, lend a hand, or engage in every meeting, people may not perceive you as essential. However, when you create the impression of being engaged in important work, others are more likely to approach you with respect and seek your input more often. Appearances matter in human interaction. By subtly crafting an image of busyness, you signal that your time is limited and valuable, which not only elevates your perceived status, but also increases your ability to influence others and make your time truly count. Frame requests as favors for personal appeal. Framing your requests as favors is a psychologically powerful way to increase the likelihood that others will comply with what you want. When you position your ask as something personal, it triggers a sense of obligation in the other person. This strategy is rooted in the principle of reciprocity, the deeply ingrained human tendency to feel the need to return favors or kindnesses. By presenting your request as a favor, you make the other person feel that they are helping you personally, rather than simply fulfilling a request. This subtle shift in how the request is framed makes them more likely to act in your favor. The emotional appeal comes from the idea that asking for a favor implies trust. When someone is asked to do something for you, they often interpret it as an indication that you value their help and need them in a meaningful way. This taps into a person's desire to be seen as helpful, reliable, and capable. By framing your request as a favor, you make it personal and more compelling, as it implies that they are offering you something of significance. This technique is particularly effective in situations where the person may feel hesitant to fulfill your request. If you present it as something you are asking for as a favor, something that would personally benefit you, they may feel more emotionally connected to the task, which increases their willingness to say yes. Framing your needs as personal requests rather than demands shifts the dynamic, fostering cooperation and creating a sense of shared connection and goodwill. Speak minimally to make people focus. In a world full of noise and constant chatter, speaking minimally is a powerful psychological technique that can help you command attention and keep people engaged. The art of saying less is rooted in the principle that less is more. When you speak sparingly, you create an air of mystery and importance, prompting others to listen more closely to every word you say. People tend to tune in when they feel that what you're saying is significant, and using fewer words can enhance the perception of your value and authority. This strategy keeps your audience attentive and eager to hear more. Psychologically, when you speak minimally, you eliminate the risk of overwhelming others with information. People naturally focus on what's most essential, and by offering fewer words, you force them to pay attention to what you've said. This technique also invites curiosity. When you leave gaps in your speech, listeners become more focused on the meaning behind your words, and they are more likely to give your message the full attention it deserves. It also creates a sense of control. People are drawn to those who can convey important points efficiently without rambling or wasting time. This approach is particularly effective in high-stakes situations like meetings, negotiations, or presentations, where brevity can make you seem more authoritative and thoughtful. It not only helps in holding attention, but also in making your words feel weightier, as every sentence carries more significance. By speaking less, you can create a lasting impact, ensuring that what you do say resonates deeply and sticks in the minds of those listening. Keep secrets to create intrigue. The strategic use of secrets can be a powerful psychological tool for creating intrigue and increasing your perceived value. People are naturally curious and have a deep-seated desire to uncover what's hidden from them. When you withhold information or keep certain details to yourself, you spark this curiosity and make others eager to learn more about you, your intentions, or your plans. This sense of mystery, when employed properly, can make you appear more fascinating, powerful, and in control. The psychology behind keeping secrets lies in the human tendency to value what is scarce or unavailable. When something is kept hidden, it automatically becomes more desirable. This principle plays on the idea of information asymmetry, the notion that the person who holds knowledge or insight has power over others. By selectively keeping information back, you establish yourself as someone who has something others want, making them more inclined to seek your attention, approval, or favor. In both social and professional contexts, withholding certain details can elevate your status. It encourages people to engage with you more, as they'll be eager to uncover the unknown aspects of your personality or plans. This technique works well in negotiations, leadership, and even in personal relationships, where a sense of mystery can create a stronger emotional pull. However, it's essential to use this tactic wisely. Overusing secrets or withholding too much information can lead to suspicion or alienation. The key is to balance the right amount of mystery to make you more intriguing without crossing the line into dishonesty or manipulation. When done thoughtfully, keeping secrets can increase your influence, captivate others, and make them more invested in your words and actions. Make others dependent on you. The psychological strategy of making others dependent on you is rooted in the human need for security, stability, and support. When you position yourself as someone who provides essential value, whether in knowledge, resources, or emotional support, you create a dynamic where others begin to rely on your presence and expertise. This subtle shift in power can significantly enhance your influence, as the more dependent someone becomes on you, the more control you have over the relationship. To make someone dependent on you, start by consistently offering help or guidance in areas where they may lack knowledge or resources. When you provide solutions or support that others can't easily get elsewhere, you begin to position yourself as an indispensable figure in their life. Whether it's in a professional setting, social environment, or personal relationship, people will begin to rely on you for the security and stability you provide, making it harder for them to function without you. Psychologically, this plays into the principle of reciprocity, the idea that when someone helps you, you feel a sense of indebtedness and a need to return the favor. As you continue to offer your support, the other person begins to associate their success or comfort with your involvement. Over time, they may start to seek your guidance more frequently, subconsciously reinforcing their dependence on you. However, it's essential to use this tactic ethically. If done too overtly or manipulatively, making others dependent on you can create resentment or imbalance. But when done subtly, it establishes a foundation of trust, loyalty, and influence. By making others depend on your expertise, support, or guidance, you position yourself as a pivotal figure in their lives, gaining both respect and control in the process. Cite experts to back up your ideas. One of the most persuasive psychological techniques is citing experts to lend authority and credibility to your arguments or proposals. When you reference an authority figure or expert in a given field, you automatically strengthen the validity of your own position, as people are more likely to trust information that is backed by recognized authorities. This technique works because humans have an inherent respect for expertise and often defer to those who are seen as knowledgeable, credible, or accomplished. By citing experts, you tap into this respect, making your ideas seem more reliable and compelling. The psychological principle behind this is social proof, the tendency for people to rely on the opinions or actions of experts to guide their own decisions. When an expert in a field endorses a concept, theory, or idea, it becomes more difficult for others to dismiss it because it's backed by someone with proven authority. This can be especially powerful in situations like negotiations, presentations, or debates, where the goal is to persuade others to accept your viewpoint. When you reference studies, professional opinions, or authoritative research, it signals to your audience that your ideas are grounded in fact, not just opinion. In addition to lending credibility, citing experts also signals to your audience that you have done your research and are well informed. It creates an impression of thoroughness and careful consideration, making you appear more knowledgeable and thoughtful. By aligning yourself with established experts, you not only elevate your own credibility, but also strengthen the emotional appeal of your argument, encouraging others to accept your point of view without resistance. Keep your emotions in check for composure. Maintaining emotional composure, especially in high-pressure situations, is a powerful psychological strategy that influences how others perceive you and how effectively you navigate challenges. When you manage to keep your emotions in check, you project confidence, self-control, and authority. This ability to stay composed under stress signals to others that you are capable of handling difficult circumstances, which naturally inspires trust and respect. People are drawn to individuals who remain calm because in times of uncertainty, those who can maintain their cool provide a sense of stability and security. Psychologically, controlling your emotions has a profound impact on how situations unfold. When you react impulsively or emotionally, it often clouds your judgment and can cause others to question your ability to handle adversity. On the other hand, staying calm and collected allows you to think more clearly, assess the situation more rationally, and make decisions that are in your best interest. It also helps prevent escalation in tense situations, as your emotional control can influence the behavior of others. By not overreacting, you set the tone for how others behave around you, encouraging them to mirror your calm demeanor and approach challenges in a similar level-headed way. In practice, staying composed under pressure makes you more persuasive and effective. It creates an aura of leadership, making others more likely to follow your lead, whether in a heated conversation, a business negotiation, or even in personal conflicts. Emotional composure is the cornerstone of influence and authority. By mastering this skill, you not only maintain control over your reactions, but also guide the flow of interactions, making them more productive and less emotionally charged. Offer a little for a lot in return. The principle of offering a little for a lot in return is a highly effective psychological tactic rooted in the concept of reciprocity. a powerful force in human behavior. Reciprocity is the natural tendency to return a favor, especially when one feels that they've been given something valuable, even if the gift is small. By offering a seemingly minor gesture, favor, or resource, you create a sense of obligation in the other person to reciprocate in a more significant way, which can lead to valuable returns for you. This technique is based on the understanding that people often feel compelled to balance the scales. When you give someone something, whether it's a compliment, a small favor, or even a useful piece of information, they feel a subconscious need to return the favor. It doesn't always have to be a direct exchange, but this sense of indebtedness makes them more likely to say yes to your requests, agree with your proposals, or support your goals. For example, in sales, offering a free sample or a limited time offer might lead the customer to feel a sense of obligation to make a purchase. Similarly, in negotiations or business relationships, giving something small, such as offering your time or knowledge, can lead to much larger, more valuable commitments from others. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. By making the first move, even with something minimal, you trigger the law of reciprocity in action. Over time, as you continue to offer little gestures, people become more willing to offer you greater rewards in return. However, it's important to be strategic and genuine with your offers. Empty or manipulative gestures can be recognized and backfire. When used authentically, offering a little for a lot can significantly enhance your influence and create long-term, mutually beneficial relationships. Praise excessively to lower people's guard. Excessive praise can be an incredibly effective psychological tool for disarming others and gaining their trust. When you shower someone with compliments, especially in a sincere and consistent manner, it triggers positive emotions, making them feel valued, appreciated, and more comfortable around you. This flood of validation can lower their defenses, making them more open to your influence, opinions, or requests. People tend to let their guard down when they feel that they are being admired or acknowledged, creating an environment of goodwill where they are more likely to trust you. Psychologically, praise activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This makes the person feel emotionally positive and connected to you, associating your presence with pleasure and validation. When someone feels good about themselves, they are more likely to respond favorably to your requests or ideas. Excessive praise can make them subconsciously align with you, fostering a bond of mutual trust and respect, even if they don't realize it at first. The key to using this technique effectively is balance. While excessive praise can lower a person's guard, it's essential to ensure that it doesn't come across as insincere or manipulative. If the praise feels over the top or unearned, it may trigger suspicion or make the person uncomfortable. When done genuinely and at the right moments, praise creates a strong emotional connection, making others more inclined to cooperate, listen, and support you. By strategically praising others, you not only enhance their self-esteem, but also build rapport and influence, all while making them feel secure and valued in your presence. Be polite but distant to create desire. Politeness combined with emotional distance can be a highly effective strategy for sparking desire and drawing others in. When you interact with others in a way that is courteous and respectful but not overly familiar, you create a sense of intrigue and longing. This technique works by tapping into the natural human curiosity about what is just out of reach. By being polite but distant, you give the impression that your attention is valuable and not easily given, which makes others want to earn it or seek it more intensely. The psychology behind this approach is rooted in the principle of scarcity. When something appears less accessible, people often perceive it as more desirable. By not offering too much personal information or becoming overly familiar too quickly, you cultivate an aura of mystery and exclusivity. This triggers a psychological response in others where they feel the need to close the emotional distance and seek out more of your attention, approval, or companionship. In social or professional contexts, being polite but distant can create an allure that draws people in. They will be more inclined to pursue your company or try to win your favor because they see that you are not easily swayed or available to everyone. This strategy works particularly well in dating or negotiations, where maintaining a sense of independence and value can heighten the other person's desire to gain your approval or agreement. By being approachable yet emotionally distant, you create an unspoken challenge, which increases their motivation to connect with you on a deeper level. Use touch carefully to build connection. Touch, when used thoughtfully, is one of the most potent tools in human connection, but it must be applied with care and sensitivity. The simple act of touch can convey warmth, reassurance, and understanding, fostering a deep bond between people. Humans are hardwired to respond to touch. It's an essential part of our social fabric that communicates empathy, trust, and affection. A light pat on the back, a handshake, or a gentle touch on the arm can send powerful signals of solidarity and support. These small physical gestures can break down barriers and create a sense of closeness, making others feel comfortable and valued in your presence. Psychologically, touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which promotes feelings of trust and emotional connection. It can calm nerves, reduce stress, and increase feelings of security. When you touch someone in a way that feels natural and appropriate, it helps them feel more connected to you, making them more likely to open up and engage more deeply. However, it's essential to use touch with respect and attunement to the situation. Unwanted or poorly timed touch can lead to discomfort, distrust, or even resentment. In professional or personal relationships, touch can be an invaluable tool for creating rapport and reinforcing trust. A firm handshake can establish confidence in a business setting, while a warm, friendly pat on the back can foster a sense of camaraderie in social situations. When used appropriately, touch communicates more than words ever could, bridging emotional gaps and creating a sense of connection that makes interactions more meaningful and impactful. Complement others' expertise for trust. Complimenting others on their expertise is a subtle but powerful way to build trust and strengthen your influence. People naturally appreciate recognition of their skills and knowledge, and when you praise someone for their expertise, it signals to them that you value their insights and abilities. This can create a sense of respect and mutual admiration, which lays the foundation for trust and collaboration. By acknowledging someone's competence, you not only make them feel appreciated, but also foster an environment where they are more likely to reciprocate by supporting you or aligning with your ideas. The psychological effect of complimenting someone's expertise is rooted in the principle of validation. Everyone has a deep desire to be acknowledged for their strengths, and when you highlight their knowledge or abilities, you tap into that need. This makes the other person feel recognized and respected, which in turn strengthens the bond between you. When someone feels that you trust and value their input, they are more likely to open up, share more, and even trust your judgments in return. In professional settings, offering genuine compliments about someone's expertise can help you establish credibility and build rapport with colleagues, clients, or business partners. It can also make you seem more approachable, as it demonstrates humility and a willingness to learn from others. Whether you're engaging in negotiations, leadership, or social interactions, complimenting others' expertise can be a powerful way to establish trust, build relationships, and increase your influence in any conversation. Use humor to create rapport. Humor is one of the most effective and natural ways to build rapport and connect with others on an emotional level. When used appropriately, humor breaks down barriers, eases tension, and makes interactions more enjoyable, creating an immediate bond between people. The psychological power of humor lies in its ability to make people feel relaxed, valued, and understood, which encourages them to open up and trust you. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins, the feel-good chemicals in the brain, making others associate their time with you as positive and uplifting. By using humor in conversation, you subtly signal that you are approachable, non-threatening, and easy to relate to. It helps create an atmosphere of comfort where people feel safe to share ideas, express opinions, and connect with you on a deeper level. Whether it's a light-hearted joke, a witty observation, or simply sharing a funny story, humor draws people in and makes them feel more at ease in your presence. This sense of ease fosters a more genuine and cooperative relationship. Psychologically, humor also serves as a social cue. It signals that you are confident, self-assured, and not overly serious, making you more appealing to others. It creates a shared experience that brings people together, making them more likely to trust you, engage with your ideas, and seek your company. In both personal and professional settings, using humor effectively allows you to connect with others effortlessly, helping to establish trust and build long-lasting relationships. Ultimately, humor is a powerful tool for creating rapport, disarming tension, and enhancing the emotional bond between people, all while making interactions more enjoyable and memorable. Hold back to create curiosity. Holding back is a powerful psychological strategy that can create an irresistible sense of curiosity in others. When you intentionally withhold information, you trigger a natural instinct in people to seek answers and fill in the gaps. This tactic plays into the human desire for knowledge and understanding. When something is left unsaid or unexplained, it prompts the brain to focus on what is missing, leading people to become more eager to uncover the full story. By not revealing everything at once, you build anticipation and make others want to know more, increasing their emotional investment in you or the situation. This technique works because of the psychological principle of curiosity gap. When there is a discrepancy between what someone knows and what they want to know, it creates a feeling of tension or discomfort. This gap drives people to seek out the missing information to satisfy their curiosity. Whether it's in a conversation, a presentation, or a marketing pitch, holding back certain details can make the full revelation feel more impactful and satisfying when it is eventually shared. In conversations, if you tease just enough information to hint at something more without fully disclosing it, you leave the person wanting more. They'll often ask follow-up questions or try to dig deeper to get the answers. This tactic also works well in storytelling, negotiations, or even personal relationships, where you want to engage others and keep them interested. By creating a sense of mystery and holding back just enough, you not only capture attention, but also increase your influence and control over how others engage with you. Give a firm handshake for dominance. A firm handshake is one of the most subtle yet powerful ways to assert your presence and communicate dominance in a social or professional setting. It's a gesture that often happens within the first moments of an interaction, yet it can set the tone for the entire conversation. A firm handshake conveys confidence, control, and authority, traits that are universally respected and often subconsciously equated with leadership. When you extend a firm handshake, you establish yourself as someone who is secure in their position, someone worth taking seriously. Psychologically, the handshake is often the first opportunity to influence the way others perceive you. A weak or limp handshake can signal insecurity or passivity, while a firm grip communicates that you are confident, assertive, and in command of the situation. This simple act also triggers an immediate assessment of power dynamics. People instinctively judge the strength of a handshake and use it to gauge how dominant or competent you are. When your handshake is firm and purposeful, it leaves a lasting impression, giving others the subconscious message that you are someone who holds authority and stands firm in your beliefs. In high-stakes scenarios such as interviews, negotiations, or first encounters, the firm handshake acts as a quick, nonverbal signal of your position. It can establish trust and respect, instantly creating a sense of hierarchy or mutual understanding. By mastering this gesture, you can reinforce your leadership presence and project dominance from the very first moment you make contact. The firm handshake, when done right, is more than just a greeting. It's a powerful tool for claiming control in any social or professional interaction. Speak in generalities to avoid commitment. Speaking in generalities is a strategic, psychological technique used to maintain flexibility and avoid being pinned down in a conversation. By keeping your statements broad or vague, you create space for yourself, leaving room for reinterpretation and reducing the pressure to commit to a specific course of action, opinion, or decision. This tactic is especially useful in high-stakes situations where providing concrete answers could limit your options or lead to unwanted consequences. It allows you to navigate delicate discussions without being tied to a definitive stance. Psychologically, humans are wired to seek clarity and closure, so when you avoid specifics, you create a sense of uncertainty in others. This uncertainty prompts them to interpret your words in ways that align with their expectations, often giving them the impression that you are agreeable or neutral. By speaking in generalities, you avoid triggering conflict or making enemies, and you maintain an aura of diplomacy and flexibility. In negotiations, meetings, or interviews, this tactic is powerful because it allows you to keep your options open. Rather than committing to a detailed plan or promise, you can express support or interest in broad terms, ensuring that you don't lock yourself into a position that may not work in the future. For example, instead of saying, "Yes, I will do that," you could say, "That sounds interesting. Let's see how it unfolds." This keeps the conversation moving forward without making any firm commitments. However, while using generalities can protect you, it also runs the risk of seeming evasive if overused. The key is balance. Use general statements to keep control, but also ensure that you're not perceived as dishonest or insincere. Draw attention to others' mistakes to undermine confidence. Pointing out someone's mistakes, whether subtle or direct, is a psychological tactic that can be used to undermine their confidence and shift the power dynamic in your favor. When you highlight errors, especially in a public or group setting, you make the person feel exposed or vulnerable, often leading them to second-guess themselves. This can have a profound effect on their wild self-assurance and how they are perceived by others, creating an opportunity for you to establish dominance in the situation. The reasoning behind this technique lies in social dynamics. Humans are naturally sensitive to criticism, particularly when it's directed at their competence or ability. When someone's mistake is pointed out, it often leads them to feel insecure as it challenges their reputation or standing. This can cause them to become defensive or overly cautious in their future actions, which in turn weakens their position and makes them more likely to defer to you. In competitive environments, such as business meetings, negotiations, or social settings, drawing attention to someone's mistake can subtly shift the balance of power. However, the key is to do this carefully. If done too harshly, it can backfire, causing resentment or backlash. The most effective way to use this tactic is to subtly highlight their mistake without making it seem intentional or malicious. This can plant doubt in their mind, causing them to lose confidence in their abilities, which allows you to position yourself as the more competent or authoritative figure in the situation. While this technique can be effective in creating a psychological advantage, it should be used with caution, as it can damage relationships if taken too far or used inappropriately. Appeal to self-interest to get agreement. One of the most effective psychological strategies for gaining agreement is appealing directly to a person's self-interest. People are naturally motivated by their own desires, needs, and goals. By aligning your proposal or request with what benefits them most, you can increase the likelihood of getting their buy-in. When you demonstrate how your idea, offer, or action will help the other person achieve something they care about, it triggers a psychological response that makes them more inclined to say yes. Psychologically, people are wired to prioritize their own interests, whether that's improving their status, gaining financial rewards, solving a problem, or satisfying a personal need. By framing your request or suggestion in a way that highlights these benefits, you create a sense of value and relevance for them. It becomes less about what you want and more about how your proposal can positively impact their life. This appeal to self-interest speaks to a basic human desire for self-preservation and advancement, making it a powerful motivator. In practice, this technique works best when you understand the person's motivations and desires. Whether in sales, negotiations, or everyday interactions, tailoring your message to resonate with their personal interests strengthens your persuasive power. If someone sees how cooperating with you directly advances their goals, they will be more likely to agree, even if it initially seems outside of their usual interests. By appealing to what they stand to gain, you create a win-win situation that encourages collaboration and fosters agreement. This strategy is a surefire way to get people on your side by making them feel that the decision is not only good for you, but essential for their own success. Leave things unfinished for intrigue. Leaving things unfinished is a psychological tactic that creates intrigue and curiosity, compelling people to engage with you and seek out more information. When you stop short or leave an idea, conversation, or story incomplete, you trigger the brain's natural desire to resolve uncertainty. This technique plays on the concept of the Exaggerate effect, a psychological phenomenon where people are more likely to remember uncompleted tasks or unresolved situations because their minds feel compelled to finish them. By leaving things hanging, you essentially create a mental open loop, which others feel driven to close. Psychologically, humans are wired to seek closure. When you leave a story or conversation unfinished, it doesn't sit well with others. They want to know what happens next. This creates an internal urge to re-engage, whether by asking you for more details or simply ruminating over the missing pieces. This sense of curiosity can make your words more memorable and encourage others to invest more attention or energy in you. The incomplete nature of your communication entices people to pursue answers, which in turn increases your influence over them. In social or professional settings, leaving things unfinished can also create a sense of anticipation. Whether it's a project, a piece of information, or a casual conversation, creating gaps gives you the power to control when and how the narrative unfolds. It makes others eager to continue the interaction as they don't want to miss out on the resolution. By strategically leaving things unfinished, you maintain control over the flow of conversation and pique interest, keeping people engaged and invested in your words long after the interaction ends. Use contrast to make options seem better. The psychological principle of contrast is a powerful tool for influencing decisions by manipulating perceptions of value. When you present options in contrast to one another, you can make a choice seem much more appealing, simply by positioning it next to something that is less desirable. This technique is commonly used in sales, negotiations, and even everyday decision-making to guide people toward the choice you want them to make, without them realizing they are being influenced. Psychologically, the contrast effect occurs when we evaluate things, not in isolation, but in comparison. For example, if you present a high-priced option first, followed by a lower-priced one, The second option seems far more reasonable, even if it was originally priced higher than what the person was willing to pay. The high price acts as an anchor, making the second price appear like a bargain, even though it may not be. This technique is also used in the framing of decisions. In negotiations, you might present a less favorable option first, so the one you really want to sell or promote seems like the clear, superior choice. The contrast makes people feel like they are making a smarter or more cost-effective decision, even if they were originally unsure. Contrast works because it taps into human tendencies to seek the best deal or most favorable outcome. By presenting options strategically, you create a comparative framework that skews perception in your favor, increasing the likelihood that others will choose the option you want them to pick. Give others a sense of control in decisions. Giving others a sense of control in decisions is a powerful psychological tactic that can significantly increase their willingness to cooperate and align with your goals. When people feel that they have autonomy and are in charge of their choices, they are more likely to invest emotionally in the outcome and act in ways that serve your interests, often without realizing it. By offering them the illusion of control, you subtly guide their decisions while still maintaining a sense of agency on their part. The psychology behind this tactic is rooted in the human desire for independence. People generally resist being told what to do, especially in situations where they feel their freedom to make choices is being restricted. When you give someone the power to make a decision, they feel respected and valued, which strengthens their emotional connection to the process and the outcome. This principle is widely used in sales, negotiations, and even personal relationships, where offering choices instead of directives can lead to a more favorable result for you. For example, in a negotiation, instead of making a direct demand, you can give the other person a few options, all of which lead to a favorable outcome for you. This gives them the illusion of choice, making them feel in control while still guiding them toward the decision you want. Similarly, in social situations, when you give someone options or allow them to lead the conversation, they are more likely to feel comfortable and more positively inclined toward you. By making others feel in control, you tap into their psychological need for autonomy, making them more likely to align with your desires and take actions that ultimately benefit you. Walk away from negotiations to maintain control. The act of walking away from a negotiation is a powerful psychological tactic that signals strength, confidence, and control. When you are willing to leave the table, it shows that you are not desperate and that you are ready to walk away from any deal that does not meet your standards. This sends a clear message to the other party. You have alternatives, and you are not afraid to explore them. The psychology behind this tactic taps into the principle of scarcity. When people believe something might be lost, they are more likely to value it highly and push harder to make a deal. Walking away from a negotiation gives you leverage. It forces the other party to reconsider their position and potentially offers a shift in their approach. If they see you as someone who won't settle for less than what you believe is fair, they will often try to entice you back with a better offer, hoping to close the deal. This creates a sense of urgency and demonstrates that you have a firm stance. In essence, you are setting boundaries that are respected, and you are showing that you are not easily swayed by pressure tactics. This strategy works because it triggers a fear of loss in others. They begin to fear the consequences of losing the opportunity to strike a deal with you. However, it's important to walk away at the right moment, not too early and not too late. The key is to maintain composure, stick to your principles, and let the other party feel the pressure of your absence. By doing so, you keep the upper hand and maintain control over the negotiation process. Be vague to leave room for interpretation. Being vague is a psychological tactic that can create a sense of mystery and give you more control over how others perceive your words and intentions. When you purposely leave details ambiguous or avoid giving clear answers, You encourage people to fill in the gaps with their own interpretations. This leaves them with a sense of curiosity, making them more likely to engage with you further to uncover what you truly mean. Vague statements allow for a broader range of responses, letting the other person project their thoughts and expectations onto what you've said, which can shape their perception in your favor. Psychologically, vagueness activates the mind's need for clarity and certainty. When faced with an unclear statement or an open-ended situation, people tend to seek answers to resolve the discomfort of not knowing. This is why vagueness can draw others in. It gives them the illusion of control over the conversation as they attempt to figure out the meaning behind your words. It also leaves you in a position where you can adjust the direction of the interaction based on how others respond, making it easier to influence or guide the conversation without committing to any specific details. In negotiations, personal conversations, or professional discussions, vagueness can help you avoid being boxed into a corner. It allows you to keep your options open and maintain flexibility, making it easier to adapt your position as new information arises. By being vague, you not only maintain an air of mystery, but also subtly control the flow of conversation, leaving others eager to understand more while giving you the upper hand. Let others make the first offer. Letting others make the first offer is a strategic, psychological tactic that shifts the power dynamic in your favor. By remaining silent or withholding your own proposal, you allow the other person to reveal their position first, which gives you valuable insight into their priorities, expectations, and flexibility. This initial offer can serve as an anchor, shaping the rest of the negotiation or conversation and giving you a clear starting point for discussion. Psychologically, the first offer often serves as a powerful reference point. People tend to adjust their expectations based on this initial proposal, even if it's unreasonable. By allowing the other party to speak first, you avoid the risk of setting the wrong anchor or revealing too much about your own stance. Their offer can provide clues about how much room you have to maneuver and whether they are likely to be negotiable. In negotiations, people often feel the need to win or get the best deal, and by making the first offer, they reveal their bottom line and how flexible they are. If you hold back and allow them to take the lead, you position yourself as a calm, strategic thinker. You can then craft your response based on the information they've provided, using it to shape a more favorable outcome for yourself. This technique works because it capitalizes on human tendencies to react to the first piece of information presented. Letting others go first puts you in control of how to respond and allows you to frame the negotiation to your advantage. Use cold reading to build trust. Cold reading is a psychological technique that involves making educated guesses about someone based on subtle cues such as body language, appearance, and speech patterns. It creates the illusion that you understand them deeply, even though you're gathering information and making inferences from their reactions. This can be a powerful tool to build trust and rapport quickly, as people tend to trust those who seem to have insight into their personalities, feelings, and behaviors, whether or not that insight is fully accurate. The reason cold reading works so effectively is rooted in the human desire to feel understood and recognized. When someone makes an accurate-sounding observation about us, especially something personal or emotional, it triggers a subconscious sense of connection. This can lead to a feeling of closeness, making the other person more open and willing to trust you. People are naturally inclined to believe that those who can read them are trustworthy and insightful, which creates a sense of credibility and connection in your interactions. For example, you might notice how someone is dressed, their body language, or even the tone of their voice, and use this to make a comment like, "You seem like someone who values precision," or "You've been working really hard lately." Even if you're only partially correct, the person will often confirm or expand upon your observation, feeling like you've recognized something important about them. This builds trust because they feel you are attuned to their inner world. While cold reading can create strong rapport, it should be used ethically and with caution. If overdone or too intrusive, it can feel manipulative, but when used sparingly and with genuine intent, it can be an incredibly effective way to connect with others and create lasting trust. Suggest subtly to guide decisions. Subtle suggestions are an incredibly effective way to influence decisions without appearing forceful or manipulative. Instead of directly telling someone what to do, you can gently steer them in the direction you want by presenting ideas or options in a way that feels natural and almost effortless. This technique taps into the psychological concept of priming, where small cues or suggestions can influence behavior and decision-making without the person realizing they are being guided. The power of subtle suggestions lies in their ability to activate the subconscious mind. When you present an idea in a casual, almost offhand manner, it doesn't trigger resistance. People are more likely to accept suggestions when they believe they've come to the decision themselves. For instance, instead of saying, "You should choose this option," you might say, "Most people who've been in your situation tend to go with this approach." This phrasing creates the illusion of autonomy while gently guiding the person toward the desired choice. Psychologically, this technique plays on social proof and conformity. When you suggest something that aligns with what others are doing or what is commonly accepted, it taps into a person's desire to fit in and make decisions that are in line with the norm. The more subtly you suggest an option, the less likely the other person is to feel coerced, making them more open to your influence. In practice, this technique can be especially useful in negotiations, sales, or social interactions. By planting ideas or subtly framing options, you can guide others toward the decisions that benefit you, while still allowing them to feel in control of the outcome. It's a powerful way to influence without pressure, making your suggestions feel like the natural and logical choice. Give controlled choices to keep control. Offering controlled choices is a powerful psychological technique that allows you to guide a conversation or decision-making process while giving others the illusion of freedom. When you provide people with options, it makes them feel in control, as if they are making their own decisions. However, by carefully framing the choices you offer, you ensure that both options lead to a result that benefits you. This subtle manipulation helps you retain the upper hand while making others feel empowered and satisfied with their choices. Psychologically, humans have a deep-seated need for autonomy. We want to feel that our decisions are ours to make, which is why presenting choices is so effective. When you give someone two or more options, their mind tends to focus on the benefits of each, and they become more invested in making a choice. By presenting these choices in a way that aligns with your goals, you can nudge the decision-making process in your favor without exerting overt pressure. The key is to ensure that both options are favorable to you, allowing you to retain control over the outcome, no matter what the person chooses. In practice, controlled choices can be used in a variety of situations, from negotiations to everyday conversations. For example, in a sales pitch, instead of asking if someone wants to buy a product, you could ask if they prefer one color or another. Both options lead to a sale, but the person feels like they made the final decision. By offering controlled choices, you create an environment where people feel like they are in control while you subtly steer them toward the desired outcome. This technique is a strategic way to maintain influence while keeping the appearance of collaboration and freedom. Use the yes ladder to build agreement. The yes ladder is a psychological technique designed to gradually increase the likelihood of agreement by starting with small, easy-to-accept requests and building up to larger ones. The idea is simple. By getting someone to say yes to small requests, you increase the chances they will continue to agree as the demands become bigger. This technique leverages the human desire for consistency and commitment. Once someone has agreed to something, they are more likely to continue agreeing in the same direction, even if the requests become more significant. Psychologically, the yes ladder works by playing on the principle of consistency. People are more likely to say yes to subsequent requests when they've already agreed to smaller, less demanding ones. This creates a sense of momentum and commitment. When someone agrees to a small request, they subconsciously want to stay consistent with their previous behavior, so they are more likely to agree to the next step up, even if it's more substantial. This technique is often used in sales, negotiations, and persuasion. For example, a salesperson might first ask if you're interested in hearing about a product, then ask if you'd like to see a demonstration, and later ask if you're ready to make a purchase. Each step is an incremental yes, leading to a larger commitment. By the time you reach the final request, you've already agreed multiple times, making it much harder to say no. The yes ladder works because it taps into the psychology of consistency and commitment, subtly leading people to agree with you and ultimately make larger decisions that they may not have initially considered. Change the subject to avoid uncomfortable topics. Shifting the conversation away from sensitive or uncomfortable topics is a powerful psychological technique that allows you to maintain control over the interaction and protect the emotional atmosphere. People naturally feel uneasy when confronted with difficult, controversial, or personal subjects, and this discomfort can lead to tension, defensiveness, or conflict. By changing the subject, you redirect attention away from these sensitive areas, diffusing potential awkwardness and preserving the flow of the conversation. The psychology behind this tactic lies in the human need for emotional comfort and social harmony. When someone brings up a topic that feels threatening or uncomfortable, it triggers an instinctive response to avoid that discomfort, either by withdrawing or steering the conversation elsewhere. Changing the subject can be done subtly, guiding the flow of dialogue without drawing attention to the fact that you are avoiding something. By introducing a new, more neutral topic, you shift the emotional tone of the conversation, allowing everyone to relax and feel more at ease. For example, if a conversation veers toward a subject that makes someone uncomfortable, such as a personal issue or a controversial topic, you can steer it towards something lighthearted or more universally agreeable. This could be anything from a neutral comment about a shared experience, a compliment, or a question about a more neutral subject. While this technique is effective in avoiding conflict or discomfort, it's important to use it tactfully. If you change the subject too abruptly or without consideration, it may come off as evasive or rude. The key is to use this strategy with subtlety and awareness, allowing you to maintain positive interactions without allowing uncomfortable topics to disrupt the flow of conversation. Stay steady to avoid showing doubt. Staying steady in the face of uncertainty is one of the most powerful psychological strategies for maintaining authority and influence. When you remain composed and firm, even in stressful or ambiguous situations, you convey a sense of confidence that others are naturally drawn to. People are subconsciously reassured by individuals who can hold their ground without wavering, and they are more likely to follow your lead or align with your ideas because they perceive you as someone who knows what they are doing. Showing doubt, on the other hand, can undermine your credibility and erode the trust others have in you. Psychologically, when you stay steady, you create a sense of stability for those around you. In times of confusion, conflict, or pressure, people instinctively look to leaders or figures who seem unshaken. If you show uncertainty, it can trigger insecurity in others, causing them to question their own decisions or the direction they are headed. By keeping a steady demeanor, you provide a calm anchor in a storm of uncertainty, which encourages others to remain focused and confident. Remaining steady also allows you to think more clearly and make better decisions. Doubt and hesitation cloud your judgment, while composure gives you the space to assess situations logically and respond strategically. In high-stakes moments like negotiations, presentations, or conflict resolution, your ability to stay calm and unwavering is a subtle but powerful way to signal control and influence, ensuring that your perspective is taken seriously and your leadership is respected. It's not about being infallible. It's about demonstrating that you are capable, even in the face of adversity. Listen carefully to understand others' needs. Listening is one of the most powerful tools for influence, yet it is often underestimated. When you actively listen to someone, you signal that you value their thoughts and feelings, which builds trust and rapport. More importantly, listening carefully allows you to understand their needs, desires, and motivations, giving you a strategic advantage in how you respond and guide the conversation. People are naturally drawn to those who listen with genuine intent because it makes them feel heard and understood, a basic human need. This feeling of validation encourages them to open up, making them more likely to cooperate, share valuable information, and ultimately align with your goals. Psychologically, humans crave understanding. When you listen intently, you not only gain insights into what the person truly wants, but you also foster a sense of connection. People are more likely to follow someone who shows a genuine interest in their needs because they feel respected and valued. Listening attentively is an act of empathy. It's a way to demonstrate that you care about the person's perspective. By focusing on what they are saying and responding thoughtfully, you create an environment of trust where people are more willing to work with you or offer support. In practice, active listening helps you tailor your responses to address the specific concerns or desires of others, which makes your interactions more effective and persuasive. Whether in personal relationships, business negotiations, or professional settings, the ability to understand someone's needs through careful listening allows you to influence outcomes more subtly and powerfully. It's not just about hearing their words, it's about understanding the underlying motivations that drive their decisions. Make people feel guilty for non-compliance. Guilt is a powerful emotion that can be used strategically to motivate people to act in a way that aligns with your desires or expectations. When someone does not comply with your requests or expectations, subtly invoking guilt can make them feel as though they are morally obligated to fulfill your request. This psychological trigger taps into their sense of responsibility, social obligation, and the desire to avoid feeling like they've let someone down. To make someone feel guilty for non-compliance, you don't need to be overt or manipulative. Instead, you can use gentle reminders or indirect comments that highlight the impact of their actions or inaction on you or others. For example, you might say, "I was really counting on your help with this," or "It would have meant a lot to me if you could have followed through." These statements create an emotional weight that encourages the person to reconsider their position and feel compelled to act in order to relieve the guilt they feel. Psychologically, guilt activates a person's sense of moral responsibility and empathy, motivating them to correct their behavior to avoid further emotional discomfort. People often go out of their way to avoid feeling guilty because it triggers negative self-judgment. By subtly making someone feel as though their non-compliance has hurt you or others, you create an emotional pull that compels them to comply in order to restore balance and feel better about themselves. However, it's crucial to use this tactic carefully. Overuse or overt guilt tripping can damage relationships, leading to resentment or emotional backlash. When done tactfully and sparingly, though, it can be an effective way to guide behavior and encourage others to act in ways that align with your goals. Use social proof to support your stance. Social proof is a powerful psychological principle that capitalizes on the human tendency to look to others for guidance in uncertain situations. When people are unsure about a decision or belief, they often turn to the behavior and opinions of others to help shape their own. By highlighting the actions, endorsements, or opinions of others, you can influence how people perceive your stance or argument, making it appear more credible and widely accepted. This tactic works because humans are inherently social creatures, and we tend to trust the collective judgment of a group, especially when we feel uncertain. The concept of social proof plays into the desire to belong and to make decisions that align with the group or community. When you provide examples of others who support your position, whether it's through testimonials, case studies, or references to popular figures or groups, you tap into the idea that if many people believe it, it must be right. For example, referencing a well-known expert or citing a study with widespread acceptance can immediately strengthen your argument by aligning it with established authority or the majority's view. In practical terms, you can use social proof in many contexts. In business, you might reference customer reviews or testimonials to convince a potential client of your product's quality. In social or professional situations, you can point to shared experiences or widely accepted practices to bolster your ideas. Social proof works by reducing the perceived risk of a decision, making people feel more comfortable and confident in supporting your viewpoint. By strategically using social proof, you can enhance your influence and persuade others to align with your stance, knowing that they are following the lead of a trusted group.